Africa.
Pay attention.
But now you look at Africa, how would an enemy destroy Africa? By dividing the countries, by dividing the tribes, the people, so that they're going to fight each other. Because when they fight each other, it's easy to be taken advantage of. So perhaps until Africa have a unified language, you can each have your own dialect. Just like China has the Shanghainese dialect, they have a Yunnan dialect, they have Cantonese, they have different dialect, and it's fine. But they had a unified language, and that took sacrifice. I was in Ghana, it was very rampant in terms of on the ground. Like we will see corruption everywhere around us. But in the US, there's corruption, but we don't see it. It's hidden.
I mean, they say that the US is probably the most corrupt country in the world.
How would an enemy destroy Africa?
Pay attention.
But now you look at Africa, how would an enemy destroy Africa? By dividing the countries, by dividing the tribes, the people, so that they're going to fight each other. Because when they fight each other, it's easy to be taken advantage of. So perhaps until Africa have a unified language, you can each have your own dialect. Just like China has the Shanghainese dialect, they have a Yunnan dialect, they have Cantonese, they have different dialect, and it's fine. But they had a unified language, and that took sacrifice. I was in Ghana, it was very rampant in terms of on the ground. Like we will see corruption everywhere around us. But in the US, there's corruption, but we don't see it. It's hidden.
I mean, they say that the US is probably the most corrupt country in the world.
How would an enemy destroy Africa?
Pay attention.
But now you look at Africa, how would an enemy destroy Africa? By dividing the countries, by dividing the tribes, the people, so that they're going to fight each other. Because when they fight each other, it's easy to be taken advantage of. So perhaps until Africa have a unified language, you can each have your own dialect. Just like China has the Shanghainese dialect, they have a Yunnan dialect, they have Cantonese, they have different dialect, and it's fine. But they had a unified language, and that took sacrifice. I was in Ghana, it was very rampant in terms of on the ground. Like we will see corruption everywhere around us. But in the US, there's corruption, but we don't see it. It's hidden.
I mean, they say that the US is probably the most corrupt country in the world.
How would an enemy destroy Africa?
Pay attention.
But now you look at Africa, how would an enemy destroy Africa? By dividing the countries, by dividing the tribes, the people, so that they're going to fight each other. Because when they fight each other, it's easy to be taken advantage of. So perhaps until Africa have a unified language, you can each have your own dialect. Just like China has the Shanghainese dialect, they have a Yunnan dialect, they have Cantonese, they have different dialect, and it's fine. But they had a unified language, and that took sacrifice. I was in Ghana, it was very rampant in terms of on the ground. Like we will see corruption everywhere around us. But in the US, there's corruption, but we don't see it. It's hidden.
I mean, they say that the US is probably the most corrupt country in the world.
How would an enemy destroy Africa?
Pay attention.
But now you look at Africa, how would an enemy destroy Africa? By dividing the countries, by dividing the tribes, the people, so that they're going to fight each other. Because when they fight each other, it's easy to be taken advantage of. So perhaps until Africa have a unified language, you can each have your own dialect. Just like China has the Shanghainese dialect, they have a Yunnan dialect, they have Cantonese, they have different dialect, and it's fine. But they had a unified language, and that took sacrifice. I was in Ghana, it was very rampant in terms of on the ground. Like we will see corruption everywhere around us. But in the US, there's corruption, but we don't see it. It's hidden.
I mean, they say that the US is probably the most corrupt country in the world.
How would an enemy destroy Africa?
Pay attention.
But now you look at Africa, how would an enemy destroy Africa? By dividing the countries, by dividing the tribes, the people, so that they're going to fight each other. Because when they fight each other, it's easy to be taken advantage of. So perhaps until Africa have a unified language, you can each have your own dialect. Just like China has the Shanghainese dialect, they have a Yunnan dialect, they have Cantonese, they have different dialect, and it's fine. But they had a unified language, and that took sacrifice. I was in Ghana, it was very rampant in terms of on the ground. Like we will see corruption everywhere around us. But in the US, there's corruption, but we don't see it. It's hidden.
I mean, they say that the US is probably the most corrupt country in the world.
How would an enemy destroy Africa?
Pay attention.
So now you look at Africa. How would an enemy destroy Africa? By dividing the countries, by dividing the tribes, the people.
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it.
The Tampa market.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the horn of Africa.
But the local market.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Lee. Okay, once again, this is Frank. I am your host. This is WCC, the Sunday aspect of our program. So we've been off for the past week, and also the Saturday show. Nkrumah have not been available. He's running after other stuff, and also Sister Natasha is also running other stuff. I think she's in a graduation week or so. So planning other things and also doing other activities in New York. That's why the Saturday show we have not been able to come on. But I promise you this Sunday, no, not this Sunday, but this Saturday, I think on the 13th, we're gonna be back for the Saturday show. And yeah. So I'm glad to be here. I'm seeing you all guys. So and I know you too are glad to be here this afternoon. So today's topic it says warning to the young or newly elected president of Senegal. Warning to the new or young elected president of Senegal, and also more. So we're going to be looking at other aspects as well. So we're going to be talking about the so-called ECOWAS, right? We're going to pinch into that, the dilemma that is coming upon the ECOWAS and even the AU. The West have done ECOWAS, which is so good. I'm so glad that the United States, EU, they was able to dump ECOWAS because ECOWAS failed to their expectation, and now they have left ECOWAS hanging. I'm so glad and happy, because when you have dumb African leaders, that's what happened. So we're going to look into that, right? And we're also going to look into how AU is not AU, but EU is strengthening themselves, right, in their interests, and let African leaders know, some of the mistakes the band doing the thing. And lastly, you know, the war is actually centered around Africa, but it baffles some of us that why Africa don't know that the war is centered around Africa. All right? Without Africa, the United States cannot survive, Europe cannot survive, Asia cannot survive, Australia cannot survive. All right? North America cannot survive. Right? So, why? Or Asia cannot survive, all of them. And they all know this. They all know this. All right? But why? Why black people? I mean, I don't even want to attach color to it, right? Why? Because black is not our identity. All right? Why the people of the continent do not know this, but the people of the continent know this. Let me repeat this again. Why the people of the continent know this, but the people that have the continent does not know this. The people that are off the continent knows that without Africa, they cannot survive. They know this, but we don't know this. And time, these people say it like the introductory video that I just played. That's a Chinese man. And we're going to see more of this, right? That's a Chinese man speaking. How Europe, how the United States divide Africa. And we see it. They are the ones, right, to always talk about African interest. But Africans do not speak of their interest. They are the one always finding the problem to Africa. But let us ask ourselves, before the white man, before Europe, and by the way, they are the enemies, all right? It baffles me. The Chinese know who their enemies are. North America know who their enemies are. Asia know who their enemy. Europe, I mean, all of these people, Australia, all of them know who their enemies are. But Africans, we do not know who our enemies are. If you ask African, who are your enemies? African will go in the Bible and start looking in the Bible, turning the book around. And you see, the Bible even make it clear who Africans' enemies are. But the issue here is, because Africans serve an image that is not of them, they do not know or they do not recognize their enemy. But meanwhile, the Bible describes the enemies of Africans. But because Africans serve a God that does not look like them, they find it difficult to identify the enemies or their enemies. But if we ask the white man or the European to read our Bible and identify their enemy, it's not even going to take them a second, and they will identify who their enemies are. And the enemies of Europe is Africa. That is why they continue to explore and suppress Africans, because they know with African unity is a problem to them. So that is their enemy. They know with African liberation is enemy to them. So that is their enemy. It's problem to them. They know if Africa rise, they fail. So that is their enemies. It's problem to them. The enemies of the European is not in the bush, it's not on the ground, it's not how to call it, natural or artificial or something. That is not their enemy. The enemy of the European or the West is not earthquake. Those are natural disasters. It's not earthquake. It's not Floyd. Those are natural disasters. So they know their physical enemies. But only Africans who does not know who or his or their physical enemies are. So why would other group of nations or continent know their enemies? If you ask the Middle East, then they already know who their enemies are. But African, we do not know. And all of them know that they survive, they feed off Africa. But we Africans, we do not know that America feed off Africa, Europe feed off Africa, Australia feed off Africa, Asia feed off Africa. All of these 6 continents. I'm not saying Africa because Africa is out, right? But the rest of the 6 continents feed off Africa. But we African, we feed that. We feed off America. We feed off Europe. We feed on Asia. Okay, we feed off Australia because we have Africans who are going to those places looking for greener pasture. But not realizing that what made those places to boom, it is because of Africa. They control what belongs to us in Africa. If only we can control what belongs to us, we will have no reason come here to look for greener pasture. No way. And that is why today Europe cannot leave Africa. Europe is fighting with America. America is fighting with Europe. Asia is fighting with Europe. Europe is fighting with Asia. So interesting that we cannot even realize or see what is going on. Let's continue here. Let's go to the first part. All right, Nkrumah show. We're waiting for you. Come on, Bo. Let's continue here. Let's continue with the first part. We're gonna dive into it, right? And I have some articles. Haiti gave me some articles, right? But I only brought one because of some reason I have to limit some stuff. If not, it was gonna be too long. But let's see something here. All right. So what we're gonna be talking about here today, right? Mainly is about who are Africans' enemy, who are Africa's enemy, right? That's what we want to identify. And the next thing we're going to look at here is why we African, why are we not united? Why are we not uniting? Because people currently, other nation, other continent, right? They are currently uniting based on their common interest. They don't even care they don't care about Africans or they don't care about any other people. It's about their interest. And that's what we're going to be looking at here today. What is wrong with African, right? Let's see something here. So let's go to Senegal first. Let's go to the main topic. Let's go to Senegal first, right? And then we can build on from there. All right. All right. Now, the topic here it says socialist reconstruction. Socialist reconstruction, a better future for the United States. Now, the United States being mentioned here is not the United States of America. No. When you hear socialist, first of all, the United States will never practice socialism because they are corrupt. A corrupt society cannot practice socialist. No. A corrupt society cannot practice socialist or socialism. If you know the definition, the meaning, I'm not saying Western socialist, the definition of Western socialism or socialist, right? I'm talking about Africa as defined by Giulio Nyerere, as defined by Kwame Nkrumah, okay? Scientific socialism, right? I'm talking about the African definition. I'm not talking about European, how they call it, socialist or socialism, right? So, no corrupt nation can practice socialism. So the United States is a corrupt nation. They cannot practice it. Europe is a corrupt continent. They cannot practice it. So let's be clear on that. So when you hear or when you see here the United States, it's not talking about USA. No, it's talking about Africa. The United States of Africa. The United States of Africa is talking about African Union. I'm not talking about the so-called AU. I'm talking about the unity of Africa. That's what they are saying here. All right. So let's continue here. It's talking about total liberation here. So let's continue. This is Senegal. So first of all, we want to know who are these people? Who is the current president of Senegal? Who is him? Right. And then who is the prime minister? Because the current president, Dahomey, okay, appointed Sarko as the prime minister for Senegal. And these are two young folks. But who are they? Right? Who are they? Let's see something here. Let's establish something. So, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, okay, after Senegal election. So now, on March 29, the Constitutional Court of Senegal confirmed Bassirou Diomaye Faye as the new president-elect of West African country. Exerting a fear of a constitutional crisis after the political outsider won the election the previous week. But what do these developments mean for Senegal, West Africa, and the world? We don't care about the world. This is where, Africans, we need to focus on ourselves, not the world. Because right now, even the United States is not talking about the world. The United States is talking about the United States and their white counterpart, Europe, okay, the colonized or the colonialists. All right. So we Africans, we need to start talking about the world and talk about ourselves. But let's continue here. There is something I want to address here. Now it says anti-system and left Pan-Africans. Now, there's one thing I want to discuss. Whenever Africans are fighting for what they believe that is right for them, what they believe to empower Africans, right? The West see it as anti. But whenever the West or the United States or Europe, they are fighting for what they deem appropriate for them, African don't say anti-African. African don't come and say Americans are anti-Africans or Europe or European are anti-Africans. No, we don't say that. We don't do that. But whenever Africans come out to do something that is of Africans, then the Europeans, American newspaper, French newspaper, they will come out with a term anti-French, anti-American, anti-European. Let's continue here. So just because we are fighting for what is right for African does not mean we hate France, we hate America, we hate Europe. Does not give the intention of being anti to anyone. Let's continue here, and we want to make that clear. That for the 4 years of Faye will be the youngest president of Senegal. His victory is considered an upset. Now listen here. His victory is considered an upset. That means right there, who is it going to upset? America, Europe. The colonialist is going to upset them. Now, if they upset them, where it places Africans, we then become the enemy. Did you understand that? His victory is considered an upset. Why will someone victory? Why will someone happiness upset someone? Why will it upset America? Why will it upset Europe? When freedom is going to Sierra Leone, Senegal or Africa, why will it upset someone that is way far on the other side of the ocean? Why will the American election upset any African president? Now, I'm going so deep, like I want for Africans to understand and African leaders to understand. Why will the English or the British election upset any African leader? Why will the American election upset or their result upset any African leaders? Why? Because we don't care. But then, why will African election result upset Europe and America? Why? They are the enemies. Let's continue here. They are the enemies for Africa. Let's continue. Faye is self-described left Africanist. Faye is self-described left African, left Pan-African. Now, listen to this. You see, just because he was never recognized by Europe and America, they consider him as self-described. When European or Americans or Washington, D.C. are doing things in their interest, do we come and say the prescribed Biden, the self-prescribed Kamala Harris, or the self-prescribed Joe Bush? But do you see, these are the things they do to break you down. And that's why we don't have to listen to report to newspaper or articles that come out from the West about Africa. We do not have to listen to them. This is a man, for now, as we can see it, for now, we will put him in our category. I mean, the newly elected president of Sierra Leone, right? This is a man that is fighting for Senegal, to free Senegal from France. And then you say he's self-proclaimed because he was not described by America or by Washington, D.C. as a hero. So he's self-proclaimed. Because he was never described by Europe, by the so-called Europe, by the so-called queen, by the so-called prime minister, as a man that is fighting for Senegal, to liberate Senegal. So he's self-proclaimed. That is why, African, we have to be very mindful and careful when we're reading articles from the West or from America. Because if not, you will be hating yourself. You will be hating someone who is actually fighting for you, who is actually fighting for your interests. You will be hating them. See the nonsense they say here, right? Faye is self-proclaimed or described left Pan-Africans. He's not left, he's right. And he's not self-proclaimed. He has been proclaimed by Africans. We don't care whether America accepts his ideology or not, whether Europe accepts his ideology or not, we don't care. As far as we are concerned as Pan-Africanists, we accept his ideology and we accept what he stands for. Let's continue here. We don't care what America said. We don't care what Europe said. We don't care about their article or their newspaper. In fact, that's what they have been doing time with our numbers. Any African leaders or anybody who have the mindset as an Africans, you become an enemy to Europe and America or to Washington, D.C. If you have a mindset as an Africans, you become an enemy. The only time they see you as a world leader, as a black man, when you have the mindset as a white man. Let's continue here. Faye is self-proclaimed or described left Pan-Africanist, and his pledge to pursue significant systemic reform in the country has been well received. Oh yes, it will be received. And it is received, in particular, by Senegalese youth. Yes, because we have these old folks into power who have been praised by America and Europe. And these old folks who have been praised by America and Europe, they are not being praised by Africans or African youth. Why? Because these old folks subjugate, step on the neck of African youth. They do not provide the infrastructure. They do not provide the atmosphere for African youth. Faye won as an independent after his party, the African Patriot of Senegal, for work ethics and fraternity, was unilaterally dissolved in July 2023. So, Macky Sall, the United States, France, Europe, they saw the potential of this young man, of these two young guys, Dahomey and Sanko. They saw these two guys' potential. So what they did, they framed them negatively and put them in jail. As you can remember, Macky Sall wanted to cancel the election to next year so he can stay in power to be controlled by Europe and America, a Western puppet. But the Senegalese did not do it. Let's continue. The leader of the party, Ousmane Sonko. Now, Ousmane Sonko is the one actually who was the fourth runner. Okay? I mean, the fourth runner who was leading the party. It wasn't Faye. It was Ousmane Sonko. But Ousmane Sonko was put in jail, was in prison, right? By Macky Sall. And when they praised him, Dahomey took over. And that is why, that is another message. We, the youngest one that are coming now, the younger Pan-Africanists, we always have to produce leader. Because when they take one out, somebody should be waiting to stand up, to move forward. Let's continue. The leader of the party, Ousmane Sonko, was arrested along with Faye. Two of them was working together, right? Faye and barred from running in 2024. They just going election. So you see the plot that was going on. In 2024 presidential election, Sonko and Faye, who had been arrested earlier in 2003, were released along with hundreds of other political prisoners on March 14 this year. March 14, just 10 days before the election. Can you imagine? So all the neo-colonialists, Macky Sall and the United States and France and Europe, all they thought these two guys would not have time to campaign again because 14 days left to the election, they free these guys. Because they have nothing on these guys, right? But in their mind, 14 days left to the election, these guys can't do nothing again. They can't win. They can't campaign. But not knowing the citizens of the nation, they were tired of US, they were tired of France, they were tired of UK or Europe, and they were tired of a puppet leader. So did you see the strategy? Because reason here is if they were going to leave those two guys in prison, the election was never going to go on. And the citizen of Senegal was never going to sit to wait until next year, 2025, before election. So do you see the strategy they did? Okay, you know what? We're going to leave them in prison, and then 10 or 14 days to the election, then we pull them out and let them run. And they will have no time to campaign. And we will win. Did you see their strategy? Let's continue. You know, sometimes, even though we can always talk about the white man or Europe or America or this, right? But we Africans are the problem. I'm telling you, we are the problem. Because if we don't agree to it, America will not do these things. If Macky Sall could not have been a puppet to agree to US or Europe, these two guys would not have been in prison. But we are the problem. And that's what we're going to discuss today. Let's continue here. Their release. Oh, Lord. Their release was triggered by the Constitutional Court barring an attempt by incumbent President Macky Sall. Did you see that? To postpone the election over concern about which candidate were legally electable to run. Let's continue here. The court overturned this move by Macky Sall, affirming that Sall must leave office on April 2nd. Sanko ran for president on a PASTF ticket in 2019, receiving just over 15% of the vote. This year, 2024, Faye stepped in because imagine they imprisoned Sanko because they saw the potential in this guy. So they imprisoned him. When they imprisoned him, his friend stood up to the party, Faye. Faye stepped in as the party candidate after they imprisoned him, right? Now, as Sanko legally electable, as Sanko legal eligibility remained in question and decisively won with 54.3%. Imagine, just 10 days left to the election, they freed these guys. But their strategy did not work because the people were ready for them. 10 days left to the election, they freed them. And they came and they won with 54.3% of the vote in the first round over incumbent president or prime minister Amadou Ba, 35.8%. Comparatively, one key campaign promise made by Faye was that Senegal would look a pathway to abandoning the CFA. They will come out with their own currency. They will abandon the CFA francs, the French control currency that is a cornerstone of neo-colonialism in West Africa. Now you know where this is going. You know where this is going now. These two young folks, these two young leaders, what they're going to do? They're going to ally with Niger. Now, we come into ECOWAS. You see what's going on? Look, I love how the United States, Europe, they dump ECOWAS, and we're going to come to it. What's going to happen here? Because Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, they all are talking about dumping the CFA, and they are coming out with their new currency. So if Senegal too is saying dumping the CFA, and they are all in the same, what's going to happen? They are all in the same region. What's going to happen? Senegal going to ally with Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger to come out of that currency. And in fact, as I'll do another research, even Chad soon about to join the group. ECOWAS is done. We're going to come to that. Let's continue. There is something they say here. I'm going to say it, and then we go to the next article or to the next topic. Now, there is no sovereignty without monetary sovereignty. Imagine here now. I love that statement. Let me read first. Comparatively, one key campaign promise made by Faye was that Senegal would look at a pathway to abandoning the CFA francs, the French control currency that is a cornerstone of a neo-colonialism in West Africa. And he said, in quote, there is no sovereignty without monetary sovereignty. What that means is that if you do not have your own currency, and these are things we've been talking, and these leaders, they are listening. They've been following our channel, and this is what we want. We started this long time ago, and we are getting there. Now, there is no sovereignty without monetary sovereignty. What this means is that you cannot say you are independent nation, and your currency is being controlled by France who colonize you. Your resources are being purchased with the French currency. You do not have your national bank. Your national bank is in France. That is not freedom. And this is what these guys were talking about. This is socialism. You must have your own currency. And by you having your own currency, what that means is you're going to control your resources, because anyone come to buy your resources, they're going to use your currency, not the CFA. If you control another man's currency as your currency, what that means is you have no control to your land, because your land is your resources. And how can you transact business in another man's currency? You are just making that man currency valuable. You are making the United States currency valuable. For example, in Liberia, if anybody comes to transact business with our resources and using the United States currency, what that means is our resources, the Liberian resources, is backed by the US dollar. What that means is the United States dollar will be valuable. And that is just an example. So I love that statement. Let me take this out. Let's see something here. We get in there. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. But to this leader, it's not going to be easy. Temptation going to come. They're gonna, you're gonna test, it's gonna come. Frustration gonna come. Your own people will betray you, but you gotta be strong. Your own people will betray you. Many assassination attempts, like how it have been attempted against the Burkinabe president, Ibrahim Traoré. Over 7 attempts of assassination. And who are doing it? The colonialists, the imperialists. They are the one paying people. And they paying the same Burkinabe. Do you see how we are the problem to ourselves? So to this young leader, don't get it twisted. The CIA going to pay people to come and remove you or assassinate you. The CIA removed Thomas Sankara. They kill him. The CIA, how they call it, kill Patrick Lumumba. The CIA 5 assassination attempt against Nkrumah, the CIA. The CIA, Amika Cabral, Guinea-Bissau, the CIA. And the recent one, the United States again, they killed Gaddafi. So these people are the enemies. You don't have to go look in the Bible to find your enemies. The Bible makes it clear who are the enemies of Africa. The Bible said the enemies of Africa are the people who enslave Africans. The reason why you don't know is because you don't know who are the Israelites. Or you think the people in Israel are the chosen people. The current people in Israel, you think they are the chosen people. You read the Bible and you can't even sit down to understand. Because the curses in Deuteronomy is not, white people did not fulfill those curses. White people did not go through those curses. Black people went through it. So you read the Bible, you don't even know who the Israelites are. So it's clear. The Bible makes it clear who the enemies of Africans are. The people who enslave Africans are Africans' enemy. The people who colonize Africans are Africans' enemy. The people who put African on a slave ship are Africans' enemies. And the Bible says, those of your enemies, you will never ever come in peace and harmony with them. And the problem is not because of you, it's because of them. They will always have evil heart towards you, and the Bible describes it clear. They will always have evil heart towards you. Even as much as your heart, your mind, your souls are clear, they will always have evil heart, evil intention. And that is why he said, be careful with them. They speak softly, and their voice are soft like oil, like water. But war is in their heart. They wasn't talking about the black man, because war is never in your heart against the white man or against Europe or against America. They are the one always war in their heart. They are the one always sponsoring a proxy war and all of those things. They have never said nothing good about Africa. That is why war is always in their heart. The Bible makes it clear. You don't have to go dig the soil to find your enemies. Let's continue here. Let's continue. So that's my message to those 2 guys. You got to be strong because they are coming. But the same way you have been strong before you gain power, you got to continue. You already know it. You already know what is coming. But guess what? We are with you. We are there to expose anything. Just do the right thing. We will protect you. The same way Ibrahim Traoré is being protected. 5 assassinations, almost 7 now. you will be protected. Just focus and keep doing the right thing. Let's continue. So, just a brief history about those guys, right? Those guys, they are not like, for example, people like Macky Sall who they not understand Pan-Africanism. They are not somebody like Nana Akufo-Addo who they not understand Pan-Africanism. They are not someone like the old or the Liberian president, who do not understand Pan-Africanism, who just, in fact, these people, they were being raised and molded by Europe and America. And when anytime Europe and America mold a leader for you, that leader is not your leader. Why anytime the American election come, their NPC, what? They close everything down. No information coming from out in. Why did they do that? Because they do not want for anyone outside of the US to interfere in the election. They close every communication unless you are in the US here before you have access to anything. But if you're outside, unless maybe someone call you and tell you this is how the election is going, this, that, but you have no inside information. They close down everything. They monitor their network system. Nothing coming from outside inside. Why did they do that? Because they do not want anyone selecting a leader for them. But Africans, our election, we will open it to Europe and America to come for observer. Have you seen American election, African observer there? Let's forget about the other people. I don't want to say other people, but have you seen American election? You have African observer. European election, have you seen African observer? Chinese, I mean, all the other people. You have never seen an election into this country and you have an observer from Africa or an observer from ECWA or an observer from AU. What is wrong with we Africans? What is wrong with us? Everyone knows that their survival lies with Africa. Only African does not know that. That is why every time there's an election, even the least, come on, man, folks, the least country in Africa, and when I say the least, I'm not saying they are poor, right? No. But I'm just using that term just so you can understand what I'm driving at. But the least country in Africa, their election, America is there, Europe there, Asia there, Australia, I mean all of, in fact, their whole network system is open, monitoring that election, making sure it go their way, not the people's way. Why did they do that? Because their survival lies in Africa. Any tweak will be against them. That is why now you see that there was a tweak in Mali, tweak in Burkina Faso, tweak in Niger, tweak now in Senegal, now in Chad, the Chadian also. So they know whenever there's a shift in one African nation, it's going to be a shift. That shift going to continue going on. So that is why anytime there is a major transformation in Africa, Europe and America make sure they step in it so that that transformation cannot take place. Because they know their survival depends on the African continent. Without Africa, they cannot survive. I mean, don't listen to Europe and America when they read it, even though they may count, oh, Africa is a shithole. All those are things that they say, right, to provoke you or to bully you, to make you think that you are nothing. They make you think that you are nothing. Let me tell you, America is a BM nation. Europe is a BM continent. North America is a BM continent. Europe, they are BM continent. Whenever you have a valuable things, right? They will come and make you think that that thing is not valuable. And how did they do it? They're not going to bring test or something. No, how did they going to do it? First of all, they're going to make you look nothing. They're going to make you look meaningless. They're going to make it look like you are nothing. That's how they do it. And then in your mind, you feel that, dang, I thought this thing was valuable, but that's how they do it. And then before you made up your mind, they take that thing from you. Now they have it. It's in their possession. Now, when it is in their possession that you cannot get it, that's the time you're going to know the value of that thing, of that item. America is a BM nation. BM. But you will never understand if you have not get to that level of understanding. So the least nation in Africa, even their election, America is shaking. Europe, they are shaking because they know what may be the outcome of it. Oh, yes. Another election will soon be taking place in Africa, and you will see European delegate. You will see American delegate to manipulate the election. They will bring that technology. They will bring that system. For what? Let's continue here. Let's see something here. Now, I'm about to show a video, right? And this video have been going around. And people think this is actually the elected president of Senegal, AUMD of IA. All right? Now, this person is actually Sanko, the man to whom the president actually made the prime minister. So I want to make the difference so you guys can see. All right? Because a lot of people, they don't know the difference. But these two guys, they are Pan-Africanists who started a movement very long time. They started young. Let us bear in mind, I don't even want to say a young leader, because these are things that the West have used over and over and over and over, making African people to think that, the youth, that we can become leader. But get in mind, Nkrumah was a young man. Nkrumah was a young man. Lumumba was a young man. Thomas Sankara was a young man. Amilcar Cabral was a young man. Even when we come to the West, Malcolm X was a young man. Even Dr. King was a young man. Young men have always led the way for freedom, for independence. Young people, not old folks. Understand that? So the West will always use these terms because they speak in code. And if you don't understand that they speak in code, you'll be getting it wrong. So they will come and say, oh, the young man, or the young this, or the 44-year-old, they did this. Making you to think that as a young man, that is not your place. But that has always been our place. If you look at history, all folks have not fought for leadership, for freedom. It is the young people, young men and women that have tirelessly fought. If you read history. Now, that is not to say we want to discredit the old folks. The old folks were there to give wise advice to the young one. Because they said to the young one, we cannot do it again. You have the strength. But we will guide you. And that's how been the tradition of Africa. The old folks are always guard the youth on the right path as they lead. But the European, the white man came and changed it around. Because our old folks have always said, I have the wisdom, but I don't have the strength again to be strong to move. So they have always been at the back and leading us. But the white man came and said, no, let the younger one go to the back, and then the older one come to the front. But meanwhile, in America here, the older one are in those nursing homes with pampers and diapers. So that is why we have to be very careful when we see any narrative from the West about Africa, how to digest it. We have to know what is good and best for us. Because what is best for America and Europe is not best for us. And that's how they think. What is best for Africa is not best for them. And that's how they think. And it's truth. They know what is best for Africa is not best for them. So now we are looking at these two guys being best for Africa. But in the minds of Europe and America, these two guys are not best. Let's continue here. Let's continue. Let's watch a video.
Colonization.
Just when the West starts to think that they salvaged the country from the grips of the African people themselves, another African country comes around, pulls a 180, and throws France and the Western colonizers for a loop. Again. Wait, though. We still got Burkina Faso, right? Nope. We got Chad. Nope. We still have Mali? Nope. But Gabon. We still have Gabon. Nope. Niger? Nope. We still got Uganda or Rwanda? Nope. Oh, well. At least we still got Senegal. Wait. Not anymore. 2024 is beginning to show momentum of the 2023 African Revolution that we witnessed last year.
Let me make a disclaimer. This video, I have no copyright to it. I'm using it for a teachable movement. All right. I have no copyright for it. I'm using it to enlighten my people. So YouTube, don't come after me. Facebook, don't come after me, because a lot of our video have been banned. And then, in fact, when you see, it's so funny, man. When you see the reason to which they're banning some of our video, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. But because to them, it's harming them, to them, it's not good, because we are not insulting Black people. We are educating Black people. We are educating African people, right? So it's bad for them. So it does not go to their guideline. I mean, since we've been doing our show, have we shown anything that is not a Facebook guideline or YouTube guideline? Not. But of course, to them, it's going to be against their guideline or their policy. Because we are educating Africans. We are educating ourselves. Speaking the truth. And we are not coming here to say, oh, F Black, this, that, and then insulting our girls, our women, our mothers. We are not doing that. We are not showing their nakedness, so they won't love it. If only we were showing their nakedness and talking ill against African people or Black people, it would have gone viral. In fact, they themselves would have been showing it to other places just to show notification to other people to see. Anyway, let's continue. But I have no copyright. This is just for, to teach my people. Period.
In its entirety, in HD, in 4K, and Africans have only become more emboldened and fierce in their responses to continue this path without wavering. And the world is not only being encouraged by them, but they are in many instances election with political. Grab a drink. Let's watch it together. Like and subscribe. Please comment, and one love.
France must make preparations for a definitive break and completely withdraw from Africa. Africa belongs to Africans, not France. She belongs to no one else, neither China, nor the United States, nor anyone else. It is high time for France to lift its knee off our neck and put an end to this unjust oppression. Centuries of misery, human trafficking, colonization, and neocolonization have caused immeasurable suffering. It's time to put an end to this cycle of oppression. It's high time for France to leave us alone. It's time for France to take a cue from its European neighbors and learn a valuable lesson in independence. Germany is the leading economic power in Europe, significantly surpassing France, which is ranked as the third or fourth largest economic power globally. Germany does not exploit any country, any colony.
Anyway, let's correct that first. Germany, yes, Germany do exploit a country currently in Africa, Namibia. And the Namibians are currently fighting even for reparation. Okay, so they all are the same. We cannot leave, and we will not leave any colonial nation out, a nation that hosts the division of Africa. Hey, come on. Let's get in mind. They do not know everything as well. Okay, so I'm not going to blame him for that. What we know, they may not know all. But a nation, Germany, a nation that hosted the division of Africa among white people, among European, Germany, a nation that hosted the 1884 Berlin Conference, Germany, that have the key to the colonization of Africa, Germany, in Berlin right now, if you go there, they have a place that they have those documents, the 1884 document, that they lock it off. And in that document, it stated that Africa and her descendants will never, ever rise to see their potential. Because if they do, that means it will become the failures of Germany, Europe, and America, or North America and Europe. So Germany is not excluded. Germany is still taking advantage of Namibia. Let's continue.
I can mention Italy, I can mention Spain, who had colonies before, but who do not exploit anyone, who do not interfere, who do not impose leaders in their former colonies. On what grounds does France believe it can continue to impose leaders on us and make choices on our behalf? This must come to an end. And the emerging Africa, the African youth, the African elites, and the African diaspora all stand united in saying, no, it cannot continue any longer. France's hypocrisy is evident and pervasive in daily life. Let's examine the cases of Mali and Chad as prime examples of this hypocrisy. In Chad, where the constitutional process has been interrupted, France applauded and its president visited to officially consecrate the new king's coronation ceremony. In Mali, where it is not the constitutional process that has been interrupted, but the transition process, France has condemned and even packed up its things to say that it is leaving Mali. That's hypocrisy. It's the double standard. It is the double language that France employs in its dealings with Africa. During our questioning of Mr. Jean-Yves Le Drian regarding the situation in Ivory Coast and France's decision to allow a third term, he provided a clear explanation. He stated that while he accepted the third term for Ouattara, he refuses it for Belarus. He emphasized that France has condemned the situation in Belarus and has actively encouraged the European Union to do the same. Le Drian explains that in Belarus, millions protested. Unlike Ivory Coast, where there were no mass demonstrations on the streets. This is how France deals with African issues. Personally, we expect absolutely nothing from France. We desire her to cease meddling in our matters so that the people of Senegal can exercise their freedom of choice rather than being influenced by France's selection of a candidate using the tactics we are aware of. We begin by targeting individuals, adorning them with the Legion of Honor or a similar knightly rank, enlisting them in Masonic lodges, and informing them to prepare themselves as they will be next in line. Even the hypothesis that Macky Sall may not succeed, we know who is being prepared by France. This must come to an end. It will not occur in this manner any longer. Let's be clear. We have absolutely nothing against the French people. In France, both political and citizen voices are rising to hold and express the same discourse as the one I'm currently presenting to you. For example, the deputies, such as Mrs. Frédérique Dumas, who regularly speaks on the platform of the Assembly, who regularly writes to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, since she is a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, to raise this unfair behavior of France towards Africa, hold the same speech as us. The same Mr. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, Jean-Paul Lecoq, André Chassaigne, all deputies, hold the same discourse as us, and hundreds of other voices. The NGOs, like other non-profit organizations, are doing remarkable work in the same direction. We strongly urge France to listen to the voices that speak to it about our plan for a more collaborative, fairer, and sustainable partnership between Africa and France. It is crucial that we work together towards a future that is equitable, just, and environmentally conscious. If she listens, I believe we'll have beautiful days ahead in our collaboration together. If he doesn't know how to cut it, thinking he can continue to function like in the time of our grandfathers, this African youth no longer accepts it. France must make preparations for a definitive break and completely withdraw from Africa. Africa belongs to Africans, not France. She belongs to no one else, neither China, nor the United States, nor anyone else.
Straight up, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. So, Washington, D.C. will not like this kind of man. This man, first of all, that's Sanko. That's the prime minister. So this was the man actually that should have been the president, that should have been the president. But this guy was praised by Macky Sall, France, and the CIA, USA, Europe. They all work together. They impressing this man. All right? And then 10 days to the election, they imprisoned him 2023. And then 10 days to the election, they free him. Thinking that, oh, okay, now they can't do nothing. They have no time to go campaign. In fact, they have no resources. In fact, we have already tarnished his reputation by putting him in jail. But guess what? The people believe that Nelson Mandela went to jail 27 years by the same America, by the same British, by the same Israel, by the same enemies. Look, folks, get in this in mind. Your enemies is not on the ground. It's not in the bush. Your enemies, the Bible describes your enemies. The people who enslave you are your enemies. And if America did it, America is your enemies. If Europe did it, Europe is your enemies. The people who brought apartheid against you is your enemy. The people who kill all your revolutionary leader is your enemy. The people who kill Gaddafi, those people are your enemies. The people who wanted Nkrumah to die, those people are your enemies. The people who killed Sankara, those people are your enemies. The people who killed Lumumba, those people are your enemies. They are not your friends. They are not your business partners. And they will never be your business partners. And look, and they know it. The USA know it. Washington, D.C. knows it very well. They know it. Washington, D.C. know it very well that you Africans, the African continent, will never ever be friends with North America. Never. They will not accept it. Never. They know it. They know it very well. They know it because they see you as your enemy, as their enemies. They already, that's why they know it. And the reason why you don't know it because you do not see them as your enemies. You don't even know who your enemies are. Let's continue here. So yes, so that's circle. So 10 days to the election, they free him. All right. And then while he was fighting while he was still fighting to clear his name out, his friend that was in a struggle with him, his friend took over the party. Do you see that? While he and his lawyer was still fighting with the Constitution, his friend took over and the people spoke. And the good thing about it, he brought his friend over. He brought Sanko over and made Sanko the prime minister. I mean, this is why I believe better days are ahead. I believe these two guys will do great. Because he did not go for another old head and say, you know what? You can be the prime minister. Okay? Or you can be my advisor. But do you see what he did? He went for his Pan-Africanist brother and said, we were in a struggle together. We must do this together. And he made him the prime minister and he the president. Do you see that? I believe something great will come from out of this. I don't think it is just a speech. Okay? Like how William Ruto came and lied to us. It came and fooled us. William Ruto is a puppet. Nana Akufo-Addo lied to us. Western puppet. And so many of them. The recent one is the Liberian president. Another puppet. We're going to see more of that. That will come later on. More of that will come on later on this channel about Liberia. And my advice to this young leader, do not meet with Nana Akufo-Addo because he will manipulate your mind. Do not meet with William Ruto. He's going to manipulate your mind. Let your mind remain Africans because the minds of William Ruto is European, Western. The minds of Nana Akufo-Addo is not Africans, is Western. Let your mind remain African than Western. Do not attend any ECWA meeting because your mind, the moment you leave that ECWA meeting, your mind will become Western. I believe when William Ruto first took power, his mind was African. But the moment he started meeting with Nana Addo, the moment he started meeting with Macky Sall, the moment he started attending ECWA meeting, AU meeting, his mind became Western. So to you, my young comrade, do not meet with William Ruto. Do not meet with Nana Akufo-Addo. Do not attend any of these ECOWAS meetings. Do not attend any of these AU meetings. The moment you leave, your mind will become Western. And I don't think you will afford for your people to go against you. I don't think so. You stand for a principle, stand for that principle. Do not attend ECOWAS meeting. The moment you leave, you will become a Westerners. Do not meet with William Ruto. Do not meet with Nana Akufo-Addo. They will manipulate your mind. Those guys are toxic. Let's continue. All right. There is something I want to bring to your attention here. There is something I want to bring to your attention. Let me bring this quiz. I'm not going to play the whole video, but so this is the president right here. All right. But there's something I want to address here.
African news. Here is your latest African news. Senegal's new president Faye appoints popular anti-French activist Sonko as.
All right, so you see that Senegal new president appoint anti-French. Now, let me ask a question. The guy to whom they refer to as anti-French, Sonko, he was the one that spoke, right? There's a reason why I brought this video. I played the video for he spoke. Now, and I brought this video the second to ask a question. Now, they say he is anti-French, right? But look in his speech. What is in that speech that is anti-French? You just listen to his speech. So that's the question. What is in that speech that is anti-French, that made him that made him to hate France? Oh, just because he said we are no longer going to be treated immediately the way France treats us. We are no longer going to be taken advantage of the way France take advantage of us. We are no longer going to be exploited the way France exploit us. We are no longer going to allow France to take our resources that provide a conducive environment or atmosphere for the French in France, while our people lavish in poverty and die in poverty. So that's what makes him anti. That is what makes him anti, right? Just because he said, if France wants to continue business with us, because he did not say we are going to disqualify. In fact, we will not do business with France. He make it clear. If France want to continue business with us, it's not going to be business as usual, like how you treated our forefather, like how you did business with our forefather. This new generation of youth, of Senegalese youth, of African youth, are a different breed. That's what made him anti. Do you see how we need to be careful of words that come from Europe and America when it pertains to African? We are not anti-Europe. We are not anti-France. We are not anti-America. Our interest does not mean we hate France or we hate America or we hate Europe. Our interests. American interest is American interest. European interest is European interest. In fact, American interest never ever benefit Africans. And that is why American interests have always been sanctioned on Africans. France interests have always been sanctioned on Africans. Europe interests have always been sanctioned on Africans. It was American interest that killed Gaddafi. Was it African interest? It was American interest that killed Gaddafi. It was France's interest that killed Thomas Sankara. It was Europe and American interest that killed Patrice Lumumba. Was it in African interest? And what you really look at is African interests have never caused damage to Europe and America. In fact, this leader make it clear. We are waiting to make business with France. But France, you understand the purpose and the ideology of the youth, of this current youth. We are the one that are going to cut the cake, not France cutting the cake. Oh, so when African people cut the cake, it means we are anti, it means we are enemies. When African people cut the cake, it's not going to kill or assassinate Emmanuel Macron. It's not going to assassinate Joe Biden or the Prime Minister. It's not going to do nothing to them. It's not going to enslave how they call it, America. It's not going to put sanction on America if African cut the cake. It's not going to put sanction on America. If African cut the cake, it's not going to put sanction on Europe. If African cut the cake, it's not going to sanction France. But you, America, when you cut the cake, you sanction us. When Europe cut the cake, they sanction us. When France cut the cake, they sanction us. And that's what this young man is talking about. This leader is talking about. You are no longer going to cut the cake. We will cut the cake. Does that make it anti? We are not anti. But we know it clear. That means when you say anti, you are telling us we are your enemies. And that's what I want for African people to understand. These people are saying their enemy is you. Then who is your enemy? You continue to die in wine with your enemy. If they are saying you are their enemies, then who is your enemy? Let's continue.
Prime Minister. Senegal's youngest president has appointed anti-French politician and key backer Ousmane Sonko as prime minister in his first act as the West African nation's leader. Bassirou Diomaye Faye made the announcement shortly after he was sworn into office on Tuesday, pledging systemic change after years of deadly turmoil under his predecessor, Macky Sall, a political opponent of Sonko. Speaking after his appointment, Sonko said he would present Faye with a full list of proposed ministerial appointments for his approval. There will be no question of leaving him alone to assume this heavy responsibility, Sonko said. Faye took the presidential oath in front of hundreds of officials and several African heads of state at an exhibition center in the new town of Diamniadio, near the capital, Dakar.
All right, I'll take that out. So I just wanted to see, the European narrative of how they perceive Africa. But you listen to the speech of Sonko. What is in there that is anti anyone? What is in there that is anti? There is nothing in there anti anyone. That is why we have to be careful. We should not have time of what America or Europe say about Africa. We don't care and we should never care. Let's continue here. Let's watch a short video about Dr. Arakin. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but let's just see something. Maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute, and then we'll move on to the next place. Just to fit the narrative, because what we're doing here is for our people to understand what we're actually trying to portray here.
We must heal ourselves of the disease of, we must wake up, we must heal ourselves of the disease of colonization and slavery. When we are awoken, nobody could mess with us. They are using us to take ourselves down as instruments of our own self-destruction. You don't see white people messing with us anymore in Africa. They use us, black people. They use us to take each other down. So when our minds are in the right place, nobody can mess with us. It's when we're still suffering from the disease of self-hate and colonization and slavery that we can be manipulated. And that is the best way and most definitive way of making sure that we are not infiltrated. Can you see any black man trying to infiltrate a Chinese group? Never. Can you see a black man trying to infiltrate a white organization? Never. And yet we're continuously infiltrated. It's because we are suffering from those diseases. So again, realize that you're part of somebody else's agenda, that you're completely manipulated and controlled. Do you want to continue to be manipulated so you can save somebody else's agenda? Do you want to continue to ride somebody else's train, going towards somebody else's destination when your destination is in the opposite direction? Do you want to continue to be stupid and be used to the detriment of not only yourself, but your children and generations to come? The choice is yours. How dumb do you want to continue to be? Or are you going to rise up and say, I'm smarter than that? I can do better than that. And therefore, I know which side my bread is buttered. And I know where the red line is that I cannot cross. Because at the end of the day, you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for generations to come. You're doing it so that our lives, our children's lives can be better. So they don't have to go through what we have gone through. So yes, there will be others. And I would be foolish if I were to assume that none of us are going to betray us. But we are not going to stop doing the right thing because there are 2 out of 10 who are going to be bad apples. We are not going to stop doing the right thing because there are 2 out of 10 who are going to disappoint us. We are going to factor it into the equation that there will be a Judas among us. And we're going to deal with them as we identify them. But they will not deter us. We will continue to stay focused because we know where we want to go. We know what our destination is. We're not going to worry about the 500 obstacles on a 1,000-mile journey. We're going to deal with them as we approach them. But yeah.
All right, I'm not going to play the entire video because of time, but you get the picture. You know what we're doing here and what we're saying here. You know, we're always going to get these black folks, all right, because it's that the dumb and stupid black folks that wanted to kill, how they call it, Abraham Traore of Burkina Faso. 7 assassination attempt. Okay, the CIA is behind it, but the black man is being used. And that's what's going on. The black man was used as well in Libya to take down Gaddafi, even though America was physically involved, the United States Marine. But again, our African leaders sat down there and agreed to it. Yes. ECOWAS sat down there and agreed to it. AU sat down there and agreed to it. But how many times have AU or ECOWAS gone to the United Nations or even brought this problem out that, you know what, America, you owe Africa, you owe Libya, you went and killed their president. What was the crime of Gaddafi against America? Gaddafi did not commit any crime against America. What did Gaddafi commit against America? Which one of the United States citizens Gaddafi killed or imprisoned or raped or tortured? But we have these dumpiest African leaders, most of them, saying now that they never question the US because they are all bourgeoisie, puppet, neo-colonialists. All of them, most of them, dumb and stupid. And those are the people that the Arabs are talking about. We're going to have them among us, but we will not stop. If Dr. Arokina was not speaking, if Dr. Arokina was not truly Africans, I can tell you, the United States, if she was saying anything supporting the neo-colonialists, supporting the West, or supporting Washington, D.C. foreign policy, I can tell you that the Araucanian who have been invited to many places by Joe Biden, by Washington, D.C., going places to preach, to talk, because they know she can speak. They know who she is. I mean, you see Obama. They know Obama can speak, right? But they know Obama carried the minds of the white man. Obama mind is Western. So they always use Obama taking to places. You know, that's a slave mentality. They take him to places, the slave. And he speak convincing his people. Not in the interest of his people, but the colonizer, the slave mentality. During his tenures, places that Joe Bush couldn't go in the Middle East. Iraq, America, no white man could have gone to convince those people. But they used the black man, Barack Obama, who went to Iraq. And it became a history. They said, first time I understand how many years. It became a history. They sent a black man there. Oh, you are a black man, you are still a slave. Go there and die. When they accept you, that's fine. If they don't accept you, they kill you, then we'll come by. We'll bury you and put American flag over you. They sent a black man, and the black man went there and lied to them. And they turned over their nuclear weapon. The moment they turned over their nuclear weapon, what happened? They bombarded them. They did it again to Gaddafi. Gaddafi had a nuclear weapon in Africa, in West Africa there. But then what happened? They used Barack Obama. And Barack Obama went and met Gaddafi like his brother. And Gaddafi too, he fell for it. He shook his hand. Oh, my brother is not the president of the U.S. We have a black man. But didn't know. Later did he know that this man had a Western mindset. He was a white man, not a black man. He had a Western mindset. And he lied to Gaddafi. The moment Gaddafi turned over his nuclear weapon, Barack Obama said to his slave master, I have done my job. I convinced him. Now he turned over his nuclear weapon. What then happened? Boom. The Marine went in. They killed Gaddafi, destroyed Libya. Look at Libya today. They always use the black man. Without the black man, the white man will not succeed. They will not succeed into our organization, into our plan. We ourselves are the problem because we do not know that America is the enemies to Africa. Europe is the enemies to Africa. Australia, all of these people, they are all enemies. These colonizers, these people that enslave us, they are the enemies. They see us as their enemies, but we don't see them because we worship a God that looks like them. And whenever you worship a God and that God image is not you, and that God image looks like your enemies, you will have no enemy. In your mind, you have no enemies. And then you'll be looking for your enemies all around. You will dig the ground 6-7 feet to look for your enemy. But your enemy is right staring at you. That is why African, we can pray 24/7. The African continent is still like that. And then the Bible make it clear. And then God sitting down somewhere. The Heavenly Father sitting down somewhere just laughing at you people. And that's why he said, for lack of knowledge, my people perish. They leave their ancestor. They leave the African spirituality. And they are looking for God somewhere else. They are praying to something somewhere else when our forefather told us, call upon my name, call upon our name, and we will be there. Just call us. But we are there calling Paul. We are there calling John. We are there calling Bush. We are there calling Biden. We are there calling McCain. I'm just calling those European names now. We never call the name of Odu. We never call the name of Buga. We never call the name of Yuga. In fact, we don't even want to identify ourselves with those names again. And that is why our forefathers said, for lack of knowledge, my people will perish. And I will not go to their rescue until they realize it. That I am. I'm right here. Let's continue. Let's see one more again. What Patrick Lumumba said. And then we continue to the next.
Is a little bit more different. The new scramble for Africa is a little bit more different. It is not, they will allow us to have our leaders. We'll elect our presidents. We'll elect our governors. We'll have our ministers. That will happen, but they are not bothered. After we have elected them, you'll then see them sending their arrows head. You'll see Bill Gates come and meet your president. You'll see Tony Blair come and meet your president. You'll see Macron come and meet your president. You'll see all of them. And then they will never admit, but they'll be told, if you want money in agriculture, behave this way. If you want money in this area, behave this way. They will never tell that to the Chinese. They will never tell that to the Indians. They will never tell that to the Vietnamese. They will never tell that to the Koreans. But in Africa, they tell us. That is why, as I speak to you now, under this new scramble, the IMF and the World Bank are back, telling you who to hire in your universities, what to sell and what not to sell. It is a sad situation. So today, as I look at Africa in that new scramble, the Chinese are here. I hope that this institution was not built by the Chinese. The Turks are here. The British are here. The French are here.
Sid's been thinking about getting dentures for a while. Well, picture this. Aspen Dental.
The Qataris are here. The Americans are here. This time round, they are so subtle that we don't even recognize them, but they control us. What are we going to do about it in order to develop? We must do something. And if we don't do that thing else, you who have been trained in this institution, you have traveled the world. You have traveled Nigeria. There are two things that you can do with your traveling. You can marvel. Says it is great in China. You can marvel. You can wonder or feel pain. I'm urging you to feel pain. To feel pain for the continent of Africa, and in your own way, when you go out there, go and do something about it, because it has also been demonstrated that it can be done. I've traveled across this continent and I've seen that development is possible. I was in Rwanda before 1994.
All right, we can't play the entire video. But again, you see there, right? Let me repeat this again. If Patrick Lumumba, this great and brilliant man of our time, if he was saying something carrying the ideology of Washington, D.C., how they call it, EU, right? Europe, right? They would have invited him to a lot of places to come and speak. But because he is saying something about Africa and African people, they will never invite him. If he's in America here to speak, then he's being invited by Pan-Africanists in America. If he's been invited in Europe to speak, then he's being invited by Pan-Africanists in Europe. Facts. If he's in here, he's being invited by Pan-Africanists. If he's in Europe, he's being invited by Pan-Africanists. Why would Joe Biden want to invite this man? Because Joe Biden already know what this man is capable of doing, what this man will do. Why would the British Prime Minister or the Queen invite this man to go and speak? Because they know what this man is capable of doing. They have never invited this man to Oxford in British. In Great Britain, they have never invited him there. Why would they invite him there? Because they know he will shake the wall. They know what he would do there. But none of their respect, right? But Oxford invited a celebrity, a musician. Who did they invite that to go and speak on behalf of Black people? Little Wayne. Little Wayne was invited in Oxford. Oh God. Not a disrespect to him, not a disrespect to my brother. But we are speaking of liberation. We are speaking in terms of Pan-African. We are speaking in terms of people who know the subject, who know the thing. But they invited Little Wayne to go speak on Black issue. They did not invite him to speak about music. It would be great if you invite this man to speak about music. But they asked him about African freedom, about African Black people struggle in America here. They asked him, come on. This man are done and what? This man that the white man gave contract to. The white man tell him how, in fact, when he read his music, the record label tell him, what, in fact, take this out. Put this there. This is how you should sing it. And in fact, the costume, okay, the costume, this is how the black queen should dress. They shouldn't dress like a queen. They should dress like a hoe. They tell them because these are the people that employ these people. So why would Little Wayne go and say anything in Oxford about Black liberation? I think you get my point. None of their respect to the brother. I'm not saying he can't go there, but don't invite him to provoke us. Don't invite him to bully us. Let's continue. Now let's get to ECWA. That is my message to the young president, to the vibrant, the great leader. And I know, Senegal, you guys can make a great leader. You both can change Africa. My advice to you is, do not take phone call from Nana Akufo-Addo. Do not take phone call from William Ruto. If you do it, I'm just giving my advice. If you do it, listen to this. The African proverb says, do not refuse call, but what is in the call, that's why you should refuse. Do not refuse a call, but what is in the call is what you refuse. So, if Nana Akufo-Addo call you and you want to pick up, that's fine. But what Nana Akufo-Addo is going to tell you is what you should refuse. If William Ruto call you, for me, don't pick up. But if you want to pick up, that's fine. But what William Ruto going to tell you in that call is what you should refuse. And that's what the African proverbs say. Don't refuse a call. But what is in the call is what you should refuse. That is my advice. Do not meet with these people because they will manipulate your mind and your plan for a greater Africa will change or might change. You will have a Western mindset because the mind of Nana Akufo-Addo, the mind of William Ruto, and many others in Africa is Western, it's not African. And we want for your mind to remain African. So, do not attend ECOWA meeting because ECOWA is a Western entity that carry Western ideology and that carry Western mindset. They are puppets. They are puppet entity. I don't think the principle for which ECOWA was founded on, it is based on our principle. As for AU, AU was not founded for a good principle for Africa. The reason why Organization of Africa was founded, or AU, was as a result of the failure of the African continent to unite. The reason why Organization of African Unity was founded was the result of the failure of the Moravia group to listen to the Casablanca group to have one united state of Africa as Nkrumah wanted. That's why led to the formation of the Organization of African Unity. So therefore, African unity even failed. Because if you read the member and the doctrine of the African Unity from 1963 in Addis Ababa, May 25th, it says, no African nation shall interfere into the political and economic affair of another African nation. So how can you call that African unity or African organization? How can you call that? If you are saying, if I have a political issues, if I have a war or economic issues, no other African nation should come. How can I solve it if my other brothers and sisters can't come and help me? And that was a doctrine given by the Moravia group that was controlled by Europe and America, the colonizer. Henceforth, the failure of the Organization of African Unity was funded from its funding. It came from its funding. It came from the beginning. It came from the day, May 25th, 1963. So that's it. So the AU or AU was never funded for any good purpose for Africa because it failed. If we fail to unite, according to the Casablanca group, then what was the purpose of the OAU? It was useless. And that is why OAU, it was useless until they make it AU, which is still useless. Because even though they just changed it from Organization of African Unity to African Unity, they still carry on the same old doctrine of 1963, which is useless. So, to my Senegalese leader, do not attend any OAU meeting or any AU meeting. You will be manipulated by FACA. Don't do it. Do not attend any ECOWA meeting. Don't do it. You want to attend meeting by going to Burkina Faso, Abraham Traoré, Mali, Niger, Chad, form our group. Strengthen our group. Get your own currency. That's why you should be going back. But at the moment you attend ECOWA or AU meeting, you come by. Your plan to change the French currency from CFA to another currency or to your own currency is going to change. It's going to change. Your plan is going to change. Let's continue. That's my advice to you. Let's continue. Let's go to ECOWA. Now, this is another reason you guys should not go to ECWA. We don't speak on opinions, yeah? We speak on facts. All right. ECWA split erode Nigeria, clot, threatening strategic goal, RCG. Let's see this here. The recent withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, diminishes Nigeria's influence in the region. Diminishes Nigeria's influence in the region. Now, let me make that clear. Do you know why it diminishes Nigeria's influence in the region? Imagine Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, that is soon about to join, and then Senegal. Do you know what I'm going to do? Nigeria will no longer become the superpower in the region. That is what it meant. It diminishes Nigeria. Being referred to as the superpower of West Africa. So if these 5 nations come together in our region, what's going to happen? The rest of the other nation controlled by France that speak the French language, that have the French currency, they're all going to join. They're going to find alliances. Then what will become of Nigeria? You will no longer become the superpower in West Africa. Yes, Nigeria, Tinubu. Nigeria, Tinubu is the cause. Buhari is the cause of you being put in that situation. Because they listen to the West. But listen, what the West have done. We do our research before we come here. We put the material together very good. So that when we explain, you have no doubt to question us. Even the colonialists, they will have no, if they know, they watch our channel. That is why we always receive, even as I was speaking right now on my phone, they send a notification. What are we saying here that is of threat? Look right here, right here. They already sent a notification, right? Let me show you something. Very serious. On my phone, it came, but I didn't pay mind to it. All right? It's loading. The notification is loading. It's coming up. All right, right here. They said, last warning. Need to confirm that this page belongs to you. Last warning. Need to confirm that this page belongs to you and it's being used normally. It's being used normally. How do they want us to use our page? By insulting, by coming here to lie to you, to say the white man is this, is good, is that, we should allow them, we should allow Europe and America. Oh, by coming here to say, to say United States Cape Gaddafi was good. They want us to say that. They want us to say Gaddafi was bad. They want us to say, they want to justify the killing of Gaddafi to say, yeah, the United States did a good thing. They did the right thing. Gaddafi was bad. Gaddafi was this. Gaddafi did not want any good thing for Africa. That's what they want us to say. Do you see what they say here? And then they send a link that we should confirm. Let's continue, man. Let's continue. All right. Let's see here. The recent withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger from the Economic Community of West African State ECOWAS diminishes Nigeria's influence in the region and could undermine its long-term strategic interest. The International Crisis Group has warned. Now, let's see this, right? Let me make a point here. So now, Their so-called international community, their so-called US, their so-called Europe, they are now threatening Nigeria. Why are they threatening Nigeria? Because Nigeria failed to uphold to a standard about what they wanted ECOWAS to do to Niger. And now more and more nations are now becoming, are now getting together in our region. So they are threatening Nigeria. So this is what they said. Nigeria influence in the region could undermine its long-term strategic interests. What are those long-term strategic interests? With the so-called US, with the so-called Britain, with the so-called France, with the so-called IMF, with the so-called how do you call it, World Bank, failing to realize that without the African resources, there will be no World Bank. Without the African resources, there will be no IMF. Because when they come and exploit our resources, then the IMF bank get enough. Their bank get loaded. When they exploit the African resources, the World Bank get loaded, the IMF get loaded. Did you see that? But then, in our region that are holding or entering France note, right? It's becoming a problem in France. We're going to show that. Now the French are demonstrating against their government, and that's what we want to see it. Like P.O. Lumumba said, we wanted to feel the pain. So, I'm going to take this out. I'm not even going to read the whole thing. But I want for Nigeria to feel the pain. I'm sorry, my brother, my African brothers and sisters in Nigeria, but the leader are the people. The leader are the people who are failing Africa. Why should US tell you to go against another African nation and you agree to go and kill Africans and you agree? Had it not been that those leaders stood us strong, had it not been that Algeria stood us strong against ECOWAS and said, if you dare try it, we will join Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. If not, ECOWAS was going to go in. If it was just because of Niger, ECOWAS was going to go in. But ECOWAS knows she does not have army for Algeria. She does not have army for Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. Those nations come together. ECOWAS does not have army for them. Even with the supply of US giving them ammunition. You see what it did in Ukraine with the ammunition? What is it doing? Nothing. So, you just made Africans to hate ECOWAS. And you made Africans to hate AU because AU too stood up with the sanction on Niger and the region. So you make Africans to hate their own organization that should have been in the interest of Africans. You made them to hate those organizations. But I will not read this. I will take it out. I just want to show you something to make my point. So let's get to my point here that I want to make. Let's get to my point here. Now, let's get to my point, right? NATO wanted ECOWAS to wage war in Africa, to kill Africans, right? But see, when it came to NATO, what did NATO do? Listen to this. See right here. You see, when you have dumb and stupid African leaders, this is what can happen. When you have African leaders who their brain can no longer functions, this is what can happen. See something here. See something. Be with me. Look right here. Look at something right here. Now it came for for NATO, right? When it came to NATO, see what it did. See what it said here. Now, look here. NATO has no plan to deploy troops in Ukraine, says Alliance Chief. This is the entire NATO chief that said NATO has no plan to deploy troops in Ukraine. First of all, what they're going to do, now, this is not to say, first of all, that they will not do it. This is not to say they will not do it. For now, this is what they are saying. They have no plan. They are not going to do it. But now we're going to go by what it said here. They are not going to do it. Why did they say they are not going to do it? To the stupidest and dumb African leader that have mud in their brain. AU, stupid. Why NATO said they will not deploy troops in Ukraine? Why did they do it? Why? It's a simple question, simple answer. Why NATO chief said they will not deploy troops in Ukraine? Why? Because, number one, Western going to die. European going to die. Their army, their citizens will die. They do not want to lose their citizens. They will die. But you sat out there stupid. US told you to put sanction on these people in Niger to go and wage war. They will supply. And you agree to go kill Africans. American, Washington, D.C. told you to go kill Africans and you agree. Europe told you to go kill Africans, you agree. Why they did not agree? Why are they saying no? They won't do it. Because they know the ramification of what Putin may do. They know that their citizens will die. They know blood will waste. But they were the same people that asked you to go wage war, and then they said they will give you ammunition. And you agree to go kill Africans. Without thinking, Africans will die. Without thinking, no, we cannot. How can we, as an African, go and fight another Africans for Europe and America? You are not thinking of that. You agree to it. Had it not been that these nations stood up together as allies, had it not been that Algeria came in and said, Ekwa, you are stupid. Had it not been that Algeria came in and said, Tinubu, you are stupid. Had it not been that Algeria came in and said, Nana Akufo-Addo, you are stupid. You guys was going to kill Africans and waste African blood in the name of fighting for democracy. Stupid democracy. Democracy that African people will never realize it unless we go with our own system. But here it is. NATO are saying they will not send troops. They will not send a citizen. Because the moment Putin see that NATO have sent people in Ukraine, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It is a war. So now Putin going to say this is not Ukraine war now again. Because Putin is fighting in Ukraine for, how do you call it, military intervention. Because that's the war the United States use when they want to go invade other nations. They say they are going there for military intervention, and then the UN protect them. So Putin is in Ukraine for military intervention. Now, if NATO go in Ukraine, that means America is there. Okay, the entire Europe, not all of them, but almost, I think only 1 or 2 nations in Europe that are not part of NATO that do not support, or even the United States being in Ukraine or supporting Ukraine, right? But if NATO go there, realistically speaking, that is America is fighting Russia, Canada fighting Russia, Europe fighting Russia. So what is going to happen? Russia going to use a nuclear weapon any area, anywhere, and boom. What will happen? They will destroy Europe. They will die. And this is what exactly Europe and America wanted you to do. And you went to go do it. But here it is. They are saying, no, we're not sending troops. We're not sending nobody. We don't want to create war. Did you see that? This is why I say, look, the new president of Senegal, do not take call. Do not. Okay, I have said I don't want to repeat myself, but I read here. NATO is not and will not. You see that? This is what Tinubu should have said to America and Europe. This is what Nana Akufo-Addo should have said to Europe and America, that ECOWAS will not. ECOWAS is not and will not. And this is what NATO said. NATO is not and will not be part of the conflict in Ukraine. This is why we expected Tinubu, Nana Akufo-Addo, Macky Sall, and all of them, ECOWAS, AU should have said, ECOWAS, AU is not and will not be part of the conflict in Ukraine. We will not be, in Mali or Niger. We will not be part of it. Let the people deal with it. Let the people go with the transitional government. Let the people themselves come out. Say they said they want the coup, and in fact, since the citizens support the coup, let the people themselves decide. Not Europe and America should tell us what we should do. In fact, ECOWAS should have worked with Niger and listen to the people, and work with Niger, work with the junta. That's what ECOWAS should have done. That's what AU should have done, but they didn't do it. But do you see what NATO said? NATO is not and will not be part of the conflict in Ukraine. NATO Secretary General James Stoltenberg said at a new conference on Thursday. This is him right here. NATO has no plan to deploy troops. But yes, ECOWAS have plan to deploy troops in Niger to kill Africans. EU have plan to deploy troops in Niger to kill Africans. But NATO has no plan. NATO was willing to give ammunition to ECOWAS, to Nigeria, to Ghana to go and kill Africans. NATO was willing to do that. But NATO is not willing to send her people in Ukraine to go and die. NATO is not willing to do that. African leader, Nana Akufo-Addo. You people are the problem on our continent. I can't wait for you to leave. I can't wait for election this year to come and you just leave. I can't wait. NATO has no plan to deploy troops in Ukraine, and Kyiv has made no such request. The alliance's chief said on Thursday. I take this out. I take it out. I take it out. So, Nana Akufo-Addo, did you see? Tinubu, did you see? Now, you Tinubu, go and tell NATO to send troops in Ukraine. Huh? Go there. Go and tell. Nana Akufo-Addo, tell Tinubu, or you Tinubu and Nana Akufo-Addo, tell NATO to send troops in Ukraine. Tell them, let them send their people for their people to go die because they wanted you to go kill your own people. Stupid and dumb African leaders we have with brain in their head, already old and part of their brain can't function well. Do you think the Senegalese president, those two guys, I know they just came in, but do you think you would tell them to go in Mali to go to carry an army to go kill Malian, to go kill Nigerian? They will not do it because they are Africans. They are brothers and sisters. Because they know that if they do it, that means they are protecting colonial bolos. And we are not defined by 1884 Berlin Conference bolo like the bolo on us. We are not defined by that. But Nana Akufo-Addo is defined by that 1884 Berlin Conference. Tinubu is defined by that 1884 Berlin Conference. They are slaves. Now, why NATO couldn't say Nigeria? What do you say? Do we send troops? Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, do we send troops? But look, they had their meeting. They never invited you, Nana Akufo-Addo. They had their meeting. They never invited you, Tinubu, because it is an European thing. It is not an African thing. They don't need your opinion. Your opinion does not matter. They went in a meeting, they sat down there as European, and they thought it wise that no, we should not send troops. We should not go there. But you African leaders, instead of you solving your problem, you will come to Europe. Like Nana Akufo-Addo came to his slave master, Tony Blair. Not Tony Blair, Anthony Blinken. Sat down with him, telling him how they should go and win war. He telling him they should support Ghana, they should support ECWA to go kill Nigerian or Nigerian. Nana Akufo-Addo did that. But these are people that had their meeting, they never call you. They went, they sit down as European, and they thought it's wise. They brainstorm for hours. And they thought it's wise that it won't be in European interest, not Africans. But European came and decided for you what is in your interest. And you agree you wanted to go kill Africans. If those people are going to act weak, but now, do you know how many Nigerian blood have been wasted? That is what they did in Liberia. When the United States told ECWA not to fight in Liberia, but that was not to intervene. And ECWA sat down there, over 350,000 people died. The United States told AU not to go there. And they sat down, and over 350,000 people died. And then the United States told AU, when we're ready, we will allow you to go there. When we're ready for peace to go in Liberia, then peace will go there. We will tell you to go there. And when the United States got ready, that's the time they told AU and ECWA, now we want you to go. And that's the time they went in. The United States brought ECWA. We have information to it now. We have the story. We have the story. We document, and we have the document for it. And they gave money to AU, they gave money to ECWA to sit down. Let's continue here. Now, Nana Akufo-Addo, I want you to go and ask NATO, go and question NATO. Why did you refuse to send people in NATO? But you wanted us to send people in Niger to go and kill Africans. Tinubu, I want you to do the ECWA, AU, I want you to question them. Why did you refuse to send people in Ukraine? But you wanted to support her with ammunition to go and kill Africans. Why did you refuse to send people there? But you want her to go kill Africans in Niger. Go ask this question to them. You dumb. Well, let's see something here. You know, like I said, every other people know who their enemies are and they are fighting for their interests, except African. Look at this. Look at this article. Look at this article right here, right? Look at this article. Look at these articles. This article said, footage from Al-Shafa hospital evidence Israel is trying to wipe out Palestinians. So this article is from Turkey. This is Turkey, right? I mean, you know the Muslim Middle East, right? They are for one another. But only Africans. All these people know their enemies. They know who their enemies are. Except Africans. We don't know who our enemies are. And see what they said. See their statement. But you will never see African coming out with a statement to say America should pay for a crime by killing Gaddafi and creating war in Libya and say they're going to create democracy. And up to today, no democracy. And in fact, America has been looting the people oil. Washington, D.C. have been looting the people oil. No African leaders have ever spoken about it. But see the people, see what the Middle East, see the Middle East, right? The crime committed by Israelites authority in the last 6 months have taken their place among the greatest barbaric in human history. Now, do you see what the people say? First of all, we know. Now, this is not to say we are this, how to call it, we are, let's say, we discredit it, or we are trying to discredit what they are saying here, right? But if we want to talk about the greatest barbaric in human history, was Europe and America. The transatlantic slave trade. The colonization of Africa. Look at what, how they call it, this idiots of a king, Leopold, did in DRC Congo. Chopping up little cherry hen, making it out of chocolate. They are fought. Now, what is said here, I love it because these people are looking out for themselves. I agree what is said here because it's happening to them. But to you African leaders, what will be your understanding about the greatest barbaric in human history caused by Europe and America against Africans? Have you come out to talk about it? But this is what happened in the Middle East, and this is what they say. What are we going to say? What happened to us? But it is so frustrating. You will see some Africans in America here, like how to call it? What does other lady name in Florida that she was in Nigeria? The United States sent her for the Nigeria election. What's her name is there? She was one of those that said slavery was good. Slavery was good. A black woman. She said slavery was good. I just forgot her name. She's in Florida. She's one of those people in Florida that have those positions and things. Her name just keep going back. Now, I'm not against what they say here, right? Because it is happening to them. But the reality here is the greatest barbaric in human history caused by white people, by European, the transatlantic slave trade. The colonization of Africa? Come on. Do you know how many millions of Africans have died? Do you know how many millions of Africans have died in DRC Congo? Even up to present? By the influence of Europe and America? I love what they say here. But we Africans, we take these same people to be our God. But let's continue what they say here. I mean, what I'm saying here is these people, they are united and they are, everyone know who their enemies are. That's my point. Let's continue here. Everyone responsible, this is what it said. Everyone responsible for these crimes will be brought to justice, and the names of those who turned a blind eye to this crime will be recorded as a black mark in history. Now, it will be recorded as a white mark, not everything black, and then they make it bad. So you see here, these are white people committing crime. So let it be recorded as black mark. I mean white mark, not black mark. They're not black people committing crime. Let it be recorded as a white mark, because it is the mark of the white man in Palestine. It's not black people. That's white people hand mark in Palestine. So let it be recorded as white mark in history. The Turkish foreign minister said on Monday in a statement on the Israel's army action in Al-Shafa hospital. And this is a hospital right here. This is what the United States was talking about. Israel had the right to protect itself. By the way, this just happened. This just happened. It happened April 1st, 2024. So a hospital, people there treating themselves, and they went, they bombed the place. Okay? And then a refugee camp area where humanitarian went to give aid, to give food to people. Asia went and bombed this place. But my argument here is Africans. Do you see how everyone know their enemies? How everyone are identifying their enemies? But only Africans, right? Only Africans do not know their enemy. Only Africans do not know their enemy. Okay? But at the end of the day, everything that is going on is about Africa. Everything going on is about Africa. If you see Europe or America talking about Russia, we said it's still here time with our number that the whole war is about Africa. For talking about fighting Europe, did you hear when the European, how they call it, or say Ukraine is fighting for the freedom of Europe? We have said that here time of our numbers. How can Ukraine be fighting for the freedom of Europe? They are speaking in code. These people speak in code. That is why they've been supporting Ukraine with ammunition. That is why the United States has spent over $6 billion in Ukraine war. And Britain alone has spent over $3 to $4 billion in the war in Ukraine. So they feel that with the defeat of Russia, they will succeed in Africa. Without the defeat of Russia, they fail. And when they defeat Russia, what's going to happen? African will no longer go to Russia, because if you look at the trend recently in Africa, it's meaning Russia, China, Russia, China, Russia, China, Russia, China. So if they can defeat Russia, then that means Africa will have to turn back to their colonial master, to their slave master. Because if you look at in 1963, or that's in the 60s, in 1960, in the 60s, when Africans were fighting for freedom, it was Russia that came in. And through the support of Russia, financially, ammunition-wise, Africa was able to gain some kind of a shame independence that have brought us this far. So they know with the influence of Russia, manifestation will take place. So in order to prevent that, they have to fight Russia in a different way. In a different way. So that is why they have, okay, listen to this. So it's not, when you see Europe, when you see America talking about, oh, Russia is doing that to Africa, oh, China is doing that to Africa, they are manipulating Africans, they are enslaving Africans, they are taking African resources, that's lie. They are not speaking for Africa. Listen to this, look right here, look right here. Like I said, we don't come here based on opinion. Look here, let me show you something here. Let me show you something here. Look at this. Look at this right here. And you know, we should not be stupid, African. We should not be stupid. Look at this. This right here did not come from any African mouth. Did not come from my mouth. It came from their mouth. It came from their mouth. Why they are in Africa for? It's not for Africans. It's to defeat the influence of Russia, the influence of China, so that America and Europe can continue to exploit Africa. It came from their mouth, not me. Let us know what time it is. All right, look at this.
What you think China is. General Townsend, could you walk us through what you think? General Townsend, could you walk us through what you think China is doing in Africa? How does it threaten us, and what are we doing to address it?
Okay, what do you think China is doing in Africa that threaten our interest, that threaten American interest, that threaten European interest? What can we do to address it? Did they say what China is doing in Africa that threatening African interest? Did they say what Russia is doing in Africa that is of danger to African interest? Did they say that? I'm going to rerun a question again so he can repeat the question so you can hear it again.
General Townsend, could you walk us through what you think China is doing in Africa? How does it threaten us, and what are we doing to address it?
They compete with us in Africa. First of all, China has made a decision, a deliberate decision to compete with America in Africa and win that competition. They compete primarily through economic means and diplomatic means. And you can.
Now, did you see that? It's not about Africa. So if Europe and America come and tell you, oh, China is supporting Africa, or China is not in your interest, or you need to get China off, did you see that? They compete with us through economic means, through diplomatic means. It's not about African folks. Europe have never been there for Africa. America have never been there for Africa. They will never be there for Africa. In fact, These people been in Africa before China. That's the question America should be asking herself. What did we do? And even though she know what she did in Africa, but I'm just hypothetical, like they should be asking, what did we do in Africa that China came and surpassed us? What did we do that the Africans prefer China over us? What did we do wrong? Yes, they did something wrong. They exploited Africa. They enslaved Africans. They colonized Africans. They killed African leaders. They censure Africans when Africans do not listen or do not care about their American foreign policy or their foreign policy. They censure you. They kill you. They check you out. They unfriend you. Those are the things you have done. You interfere in African politics, in African election, and you do it the way you want it, the way you want to go. You threaten Africans. You take visa from African, and if any African stand against your way, that say, you know what? This thing America want in Africa will not benefit African. If African decide to say no to you, you take your visa from them. You ban them from coming to your country. These are the things you do. So, folks, it is not about Africa when America come and talking about, oh, China, the Chinese are coming, the Russians are coming. You have it clear for yourself.
You can see that there with their Belt and Road. First of all, China has made a decision, a deliberate decision to compete with America and Africa and win that competition. They compete primarily through economic means and diplomatic means. And you can see that there with their Belt and Road initiative. They are investing everywhere across the continent.
All right, they are investing everywhere across the continent. Meanwhile, Europe and America, they don't invest. They loot, they exploit, they kill, and they sanction. And then they select African leaders. And then they deny Africans from coming to their country. They sanction individuals, African leaders, who do not uphold to the American selfish foreign policy interest in that country. Those are the things you do. That's the kind of development you have done. Yes, America developed Libya by killing Gaddafi. That's how you develop Libya. That's the kind of democracy you give to Libya. That today the Libyans do not have safe drinking water. The Libyans do not have a quality educational system as it was under Gaddafi. That's the kind of development you have given the people. That today the people do not even take part in election. That's the kind of development you have given to the people. That today you continue to loot the people oil. That's the kind of development you have given to the people. That today the people can no longer benefit from the oil that under Gaddafi they benefited from. Because Gaddafi used the state assets to distribute it among the citizens. But today under the American democratic system in Libya, the people cannot benefit from their oil. That's the kind of development you have given to the people. That is just one example in many places. And one example is Liberia. Like I said, we will be coming to Liberia. Just hold on. We will be coming to Liberia. The relationship between America and Liberia, we will be coming to it. Don't get it twisted. We will be coming to it. But that's the kind of relationship America has. That's the kind of development America has done in Africa.
We don't actually have to meet that competition in every location head on. We have to pick and choose where we're going to do that. And
you see that? We do not have to follow the Chinese model of development. We do not have to follow the Chinese model of taking their technology to Africa and empowering Africa in technology. We don't have to do that. And in fact, when you see technology booming on the African continent, It was because of China. Because since the Americans been on that continent, since Europe been on that continent, they have never, ever carried on their technological system in Africa to empower or to educate Africans. It is the Chinese technological system that the Africans have used because they took it there. But you see what he said? We do not have to follow the model of China to carry our investment. We have to be strategic and take it to key places. And what did they do? They went to, you know, what they did doing colonization, doing slavery. That's the same thing they're doing. They use the powerful kingdom to go against the weakest kingdom. And that is why he said we have to be strategic. So what are they doing now? That is why they took Nigeria. That is why they took Ghana. So they went to these strategic African nations who they see as being powerful. So did you see that? He said it. I didn't say it. I'm just trying to explain it better for my people to understand and connect it to history. That is what they did during slavery and colonization. The most powerful kingdoms, they went to them and collaborated with them and they manipulated them. And then the powerful kingdom went against the weakest kingdom. And that is why they did, they're doing this current time. They manipulated Nigeria for Nigeria to go against the weakest nation. They manipulated Ghana for Ghana to go against the weakest nation. They manipulated Africa. They manipulated Senegal. But go so face it, the work of our forefather, a new leader emerged. So that's the kind of strategic they are talking about. We have to be strategic. China is not in Africa strategic, going to strategic nation, going to this powerful nation and manipulating them. No, China go to any nation, whether the least, and sign treaty with them. If the people agree, Chinese come. If the people say no, China go and renegotiate. China don't go and put sanction. China don't go and manipulate in an election. China don't go and threaten them. So that's what I'm saying. If the Africans sit down and China come and act stupid and take advantage of them, then it is because of the Africans. It is because of the Africans. But if the Chinese come with their Chinese policy, Africans say no, it's bad deal. You don't see China quarreling. You don't see China say censoring people, threatening them of the Chinese foreign policy. You don't see China threatening anybody or interfering in an election of killing anybody or assassination. The Chinese will sit there and relax and then come back again. Go and look at the table and see how, okay, we can come back. And they go and come back. That is not with the United States and Europe. Now you heard it. They have to be strategic. They are not going to do what China is doing because the Chinese are going everywhere. What are the least nation? What they are there to help. They are coming with their policy. Hey, this is what we want in your country. And what is the Chinese is not coming to draw your plan. The Chinese already have their plan. They're coming to you and level that country to come up with their own plan of what they can get from China and what China can get from them. But America is not like that. So you heard it clear. They are not going to they are going to a powerful nation. And once they dominate this powerful nation, the weaker nation will not do nothing because the powerful nation in Africa will not dominate those weaker nations. And that's what they wanted to do to Niger. But Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, they were so brilliant to collaborate and said no. Burkina Faso said no. Mali is fighting the same thing we are fighting. Niger is fighting the same thing we are fighting. So we should collaborate. When ECOWAS comes, we will fight ECOWAS. We will not sit and Niger alone for ECOWAS. Then what happened? Algeria too said, ECOWAS, if you try it, we will join these people. That's how ECOWAS draw back. So did you see that? So they are having a tentacle into Africa with the powerful nations. And then the weaker nation will have no means. Because once America get this powerful nation, it means America get the weaker nation. Because the powerful nation will listen to America, and then the weaker nation will not have to listen to the powerful nation. What that means is America. So that's the kind of strategic they are talking about. That's how they will get control. But if they want to go with the model that China is going with, it will not. They will not succeed. They will not make it. Because even the United States themselves survive on China. Their technology is China. India. You think they're stupid? Their goods are made in China. Their goods are made in India. So what they're going to do, they're going to use the IMF, they're going to use the World Bank to get their tentacles on those powerful nations. That's what they're trying to do. And we can only survive, Africans. I'm talking about the weaker nation now. Learn from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Learn from them. Come together, unite. Let's continue here.
There are countries where it's important that we do.
No, this tells Mr. Buckley one
Tennessee
can't
or
deal
what?
constructively with questions like the one you were asking about what about killing, setting up a program to kill half the people in Africa.
Yeah.
I think we should. You see, I set up an even.
Did you hear that? Setting up a program to kill half of the people in Africa. Africans. If you don't know who your enemies are, then I don't know. I don't think you will ever know. These are folks sitting in meeting, talking about how they should set up programs to kill Africans. I will carry back. I'm going to carry back again. And they are serious about it. I'm going to take it back again.
Wider thing, and I say this leads me to an absurdity. About what about killing, setting up a program to kill half the people in Africa.
Yeah.
I think we should. You see, I set up an even wider thing, and I say this leads me to an absurdity.
I want to know why it's an absurdity. I don't think these.
Got it. And he said, I think we should do it. We should do it. Did you see that? We should do it. So you dumb and stupid African leader, when you sit down there and these white folks come to you and they're telling you they are coming with GMO, or they are coming to provide food for you, or they are bringing this, and you sit down, you agree to it. And then before you marry a man, half of your people in our country have AIDS. Now, I'm wondering, because about 80 to 85% of Ghanaian youth have HIV. I'm wondering, what kind of program did they take there? And not just Africa, not just Ghana. These folks are poisoning us. And look, what bad for me is they are not even afraid. They keep saying these things, right? But African will still say it and say it's, how they call it, conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory. Oh, that is just conspiracy theory. These are things people are setting planning and they are doing it and it is happening. Ask yourself, why are they targeting the youth? Why will 80 to 85% of Ghanaian youth have HIV? Look, I saw it I saw the report on Joy FM in Ghana. It baffled me and I began to ask myself, why just youth? Why they target the youth? And here is this man sitting here. We need to create program to kill Africans, and I think we should. And then when you talk about these things, and then it will be the same Africans who will come against you and come and say, why are you saying that? In fact, It is African who will come and tell another African, this is division. You are bringing division. You trying to enlighten them. You trying to educate them. You trying to tell them what is the truth. But they will tell you that you are bringing division. But when this man is sitting here saying this kind of thing, they don't see problem with it. When they are already poisoning Africans, they don't see problem with it. Then when they are already killing Africans, they don't see problem with it. But when you say, these are the things they're doing, and then your own African brothers will come and tell you that that is division. You are preaching division. But they don't question the doer of the act. But they question the man who is educating them.
Help constructively with questions like the one you were asking about what about killing, setting up a program to kill half the people in Africa.
Yeah.
I think we should, you see, I set up an even wider thing, and I say this leads me to an absurdity.
I want to know why it's an absurdity. I don't think these graphs help. Do they?
Oh, you mean why your example is an absurdity?
Yes.
Well, we should,
Or
then
even
explore
these.
that more, you
Or
see.
even
I think
these.
you didn't describe how these people would be killed. This would, in my standards, be a very
Painlessly.
important factor.
Painlessly.
Painfully.
Painlessly,
But would it be greater for you, Mr. Buckley, if you knew your country were doing this?
No.
Well, you see, not everybody would be. This would, in my standards, be a very
Painlessly.
important factor.
Painlessly.
Painfully.
Painlessly.
So did you see that? They should die painfully. Come on, look, folks. Look at the wall on a border. Look at it. I mean, I pause it so that you can see it. They should die painfully and painlessly. Does these guys have souls in them? They don't have souls. We should know that. These colonizer, look, once a colonizer is still a colonizer, will be a colonizer. Once an enslaver will be an enslaver and will still be an enslaver. If you give them a chance, they will enslave you again and again and again and again and again and again. If you give them the chance, they will colonize you again and again and again and again and again and again. And that is what they are saying here. They may not come to say, look, African, if you get out a chance, we will enslave you again. If you get out the chance, we will put you on a slave ship. If you get out the chance, we will put you on a plantation. If you get out the chance, we will rape your mothers and sisters and call them prostitutes. If you give out the chance, we will lynch you. If you give out the chance, we will break you, we will castrate you alive. If you give out the chance, we will break you. That is what they are saying here. After all those atrocities, inhumane behavior they have caused against Africans, and they are sitting here saying, we want them to die painfully. Oh my God, look, man.
But would it be greater for you, Mr. Buckley, if you knew your country were doing this?
No.
Well, you see, not everybody would be happier. And how about the people who remained? Do you think they would be happy to have their brothers, their cousins killed off this way? I'm not at all sure that your proposal would lead to anything like a maximum of happiness.
Well, again, this would be a postulation. If one assumes that there are two people in a room both starving to death, and the disappearance of one ends the problem of starvation for the other.
We live in a world where everybody sees African people as just a coin to play with, just a pie to come and take from, just a place where everybody else can just come and do whatever they want. And it's crazy seeing these men talking about Africa like it's some trophy. You know, it's a competition. We are in competition with China in Africa because we need the resources. They should not take more things from Africa than us. They do not see us as human beings. They literally don't see the African continent as a place that has human beings, you know, and it's ridiculous to think about. It really baffles me. But then I think we are in a time where I shouldn't even blame them. Like I said, they've never been questioned. to pay for the atrocities they've been committing in the continent. No one has ever sat them down. They've never ever thought of even apologizing for the atrocities they've ever committed in the continent. So the entitlement comes from a long way, where they were openly able to come and discuss about African lives, how they wanted to take down African people for them to have more space in the world. That's the entitlement I'm talking about. They feel entitled because they've never been questioned about looking into history and seeing that their ancestors and the things that they did or they still do that were crimes to humanity.
The British have never faced justice.
Okay, let me show you why I recently canceled my expensive doorbell subscriptions.
That is why they still run around the world pretending to tell us what to do. You know, one of the most painful statements that I ever heard in my life was from a former British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, when he said that Africa is a scar on the conscience of the world. How dare he? It is because we have never asked them to answer for their atrocities. The day they do, they will know that we are truly hungry. They have never. And that is why some of us are very serious about this whole idea of reparations and proper apology. They have never apologized.
And that's where the problem is. Majority of the time, having someone who never takes in accountability for the things they ever did or things they do, but they want to go on and blame other people as they are the problem. They are the ones sponsoring wars. They came and invaded other nations, but they never see that as a problem. In fact, they want to be praised. They want to be thanked that they came and did civilization in the places that they came and destroyed. The things they've been committing to African people are things that are inhuman and were against humanity that need to be accounted for. You know, the way they don't want to forget about World War II, World War I, the way they don't want to forget about the Holocaust. When it comes to them when they were in pain, it has to be told. They do not want to forget about the atrocities that they went through. But when it comes to us as Africans, they discuss us like, even if we lose lives, it doesn't count. So how can you deal with such a person? It's so crazy. It's like a mixture of a lot of emotions, like I say all the time. Like you want to forget about things and then you keep coming across this kind of people and them discussing about you like you don't have value. They don't see value in Black people. And if they're seeing Africa as that, trust me, every Black person is seen as the same. So it doesn't matter all the time, like I say, if you are from America, from Europe, from Asia, from the Caribbean, or from Africa, as long as you're seen to them as a Black person, they will see you as nothing. But also because of the leaders that we have in the continent, I would not say all of them because I'm seeing some change in West Africa, but in other parts of Africa, not so much. How come in 2024, we still have the curriculum of the colonizers, of the Europeans that came and enslaved our ancestors or us as a people? I mean, I come from a country and a place where if our leaders get sick, they have to go to America. They cannot build their own good hospitals in their country, which is crazy how Africans want to grow. We want to elevate. But even in 2024, our children have the curriculum of a white man that came and disturbed any kind of progress that you could have had in your time. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. And this is why I saw on this platform, it doesn't matter if it's Russia, China, or any other group of people. They are just groups of people that only want to come to Africa for the resources. They do not want you as a person. They do not like you. In fact, they like animals more. That's why they are able to pay millions and millions of money to go for safaris and go for animal hunting. Like they literally leave their European or American countries to come to Africa to hunt down our animals just for fun. So what kind of humanity do you want to get from such a person that protect their animals in their country? You cannot just go and hit or do anything to a dog or a cat in their country, but they are able to come and pay money to our governments who allow such things to happen, to come and hunt down our animals and take them down for fun. So how would they not do the same thing to you as someone who they don't even consider as human? do you get what I mean? So I think it's time for us as Africans to really step up our game and understand that no freedom is ever going to come by us, looking at the wrong direction. And all of this is to not even blame these people anymore. Okay, they are part of the influence, they are part of the problem. But I would say in 2024, the biggest problem that we have are the people that look like me, that continue to let the systems that don't let us elevate or grow as a people continue to be in place. Like I said, the education, the health, technology, a lot of things, resources. It's not like these people in 2024 just come and steal. Let's be real, let's be honest, let's stop pretending. They don't just get on their flights and come and steal. They come and sign things. Who signs the contracts? Who lets them take over the land? Who lets them come in and take literally everything that we own? Like I said, as a Ugandan, I am not sure anymore if the airport, our national airport of Uganda, I'm not sure, speculations, if it's ours, because the rumors keep running around like it was given or sold to the Chinese. I am not sure, but I hear stories. So how are we going to always keep on blaming these people in 2024 when the biggest issue and the biggest problem we have today in 2024 is these ones? And I'm not saying we shouldn't support those that come out to defend us and, fight for a good cause. I love what West African leaders are doing. It's something that is admirable. It's something that really gives you some sense of loving who you are as an African, having these leaders in West Africa that are coming up in Gabon, in Niger, in Burkina Faso, coming out to stand on their ground and be in power of who they are, and understand that we have to dismantle these systems that have always been kept in place for us to stay on the ground. But we all know what needs to be done, but we just have to keep pushing at the right people. These are the problem, but these are worst. These are the worst problem that we have in the Black community. It's time for us as Black community to start being competitive by working together. Like, the animosity has to be taken down. Us fighting each other is the biggest problem, the biggest problem than this problem. Because the more we connect, the more we have conversations, the more we come together and work together, we dismantle the lies that have been fed to us for the longest time, of them seeing us as people that can never work together. I believe that we can do better and we can grow as a people. Yeah, guys, that is it for me in the video. Let me know what you think about this.
All right. So I'm not going to explain more, right? But you heard it for yourself. Now, let me bring another one again. Okay? Another one again. Let me bring it. And this time around, let me bring it. Let me bring it again. Let me bring it. We're about to go out. We're closing up. So look at this. Look at this right here.
Remember that he represents.
Look, everything is about Africa. I'm telling you, everything is about Africa. The war today, as we speak, will not survive. I mean, currently, I'm not talking about the puzzle. I'm talking about current right now. What America have taken for Africa, what Europe have taken for, what everyone have taken for Africa. Let them take it. It's for them. Let them go with it. But at this point, starting from here, going on war, right? Going forward, without Africa, all of them gonna be history. All of them going to be history. All of them. So all of them going to be history.
Remember that he represents in the minds of many people around the world someone who has decided to challenge not just American military and political hegemony, but American and Western financial hegemony. The World Bank and associated institutions have effectively been puppets for U.S. and allied foreign policy. And if you don't do what we tell you to do, then we won't lend you the money that you want. We talk all the time about the Chinese supposedly blackmailing people by lending them lots of money and then holding them accountable. Well, we do the same thing, only we do it in more subtle ways that are actually more damaging to the society because we're very intrusive. We're not just interested in the specific project. We're trying to restructure people's societies, change their.
Now, you heard that, Clay. And by the way, this is this guy here. He's Douglas McGregor. He's an ex-United States Marine or U.S. officer. All right, he's a retired U.S. officer. All right, so yeah, he was a commander, so he fought in many battles, so he knows what he's talking about. So you see what's going on there. Again, he's talking about Africa. He's saying we blame it China. China is this, China is that, China is that. But we use the World Bank, we use the IMF. Come on, man. I mean, so you see. So what can the United States, what can Europe tell us? Everything is about Africa. Without Africa, these people cannot survive. So all the fighting, all the chaos going on is about Africa. Why do you think America, Europe, they support proxy war on the African continent? It's for Africa to continue to be in chaos. Because if we continue to be in chaos, all we will think about is survival. We will not think about development moving forward. We will not think about owning things. Because once there is peace, the next thing we'll be talking about, well, how can we allow the white man to come here and own our land? But if there is war, we will not care about owning land. We will not care about our resources. All we care about, how can we survive? Because what we'll be thinking about is, look, we will talk about the land, but right now, let we survive. Let we live to speak for tomorrow. That's what we'll be talking about. But we'll not be talking about, we'll not be costing what kind of NGO, what kind of organization, or who is that mining company? Where are they from? We're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about survival. We're going to be in the survival mood. How can we live for tomorrow? So that's why the US and Europe, the UK, they always supported or support proxy war in Africa.
Their cultures. So you have people in Africa, Latin America, much of Asia, who are very sympathetic to the Russians, who are seen as standing up to this.
Welcome to a new chapter in the story of a continent. As Mr. Douglas McGregor insightfully observed, Africa is experiencing a seismic shift, a surge of self-determination and assertiveness against external influence. Today, we delve into the heart of this land of diverse cultures and rich histories. Recent developments, especially in nations like Senegal, epitomize this change. They're taking bold steps towards controlling their own destiny, challenging long-standing Western dominance. Join us as we explore these winds of change sweeping across Africa, reshaping its political landscape and forging a new path forward. In Senegal, a statement of independence echoes. The newly elected president, Bassirou Diomaye, made his intentions clear. It's time for French forces to leave Senegal. This bold move isn't an isolated incident but part of a larger pattern across the continent. For centuries, Africa has been a tapestry on which foreign powers have tried to imprint their influence, with France being a prominent figure. From colonial rule to modern-day military presence, France's footprint in Africa is undeniable. The reason behind this pushback? A yearning for autonomy and a rejection of what many see as neo-colonial practices. African nations are increasingly scrutinizing their relationships with former colonial powers, seeking to rewrite a narrative of dependence into one of empowered partnership or, in some cases, complete severance. As Senegal sets a precedent, similar sentiments reverberate across the continent. From Mali to Burkina Faso, nations are re-evaluating their ties with Western countries, reshaping the geopolitical landscape of Africa. This uprising against the West isn't occurring in a vacuum. As Africa asserts its stance, other global players are stepping in, reshaping the continent's alliances. This leads us to...
So this new little Wi-Fi camera is taking the US by storm. This brand new subscription-free...
Russia and China, whose roles in backing African sovereignty are becoming increasingly significant. Across the African continent, a wave of anti-Western sentiment is not just rising, it's cresting. This resistance is a response to a pattern long observed but often unspoken. Western powers, particularly the United States, have a history of imposing their will on other nations. It's a strategy combining financial leverage, through institutions like the World Bank, and military might, evidenced by over 800 military bases worldwide and the formidable presence of 11 aircraft carrier groups. Retired U.S. Army Colonel Douglas McGregor, a vocal critic of these practices, articulates a growing concern. He argues that the U.S. and its Western allies often seek to impose their political, cultural, and societal models on other countries. This one-size-fits-all approach, he notes, ignores the unique histories and cultures of these nations, leading to inevitable pushback. Africa is no stranger to this. For decades, Western influence has extended beyond mere diplomacy into more direct interventions. But the continent is evolving, pushing back against these external pressures. African nations are reclaiming their right to self-determination, to define their own cultural, societal, and political paths. The resistance isn't just against military bases or financial strings. It's a broader struggle against the loss of identity and autonomy. In a world increasingly interconnected yet diverse, the African lash back is a statement. It's about refusing to have foreign models superimposed on indigenous ways of life. From the Sahara to the Cape, from Senegal to Somalia, African voices are demanding respect for their sovereignty and their own development paths. This resurgence of African agency is setting the stage for new alliances. As the West faces resistance, Eastern powers like Russia and China see an opportunity. Their involvement in Africa takes a different form, one that resonates more with the aspirations of African nations. This shift in alliances is underpinned by a rich history of Eastern involvement in Africa. Russia and China have been players on the African stage for decades, offering an alternative to Western influence. As we turn to their roles in backing African sovereignty, let's delve into the historical context that has paved the way for their current involvement. As Africa turns a new page in its history, two nations, Russia and China, emerge as key partners in this era of transformation. Their approach is distinct, forging relationships based on respect for sovereignty and mutual benefit. Let's begin with Russia. Their influence in Africa is not just a recent development. It's a nuanced relationship built over decades, marked by strategic partnerships and support in times of need. Russia's presence extends from the Mediterranean shores to the heart of Central Africa, establishing itself as a reliable ally for several African nations. In recent years, African nations like Nigeria, Ghana, and Zimbabwe have shown a growing affinity towards the BRICS bloc, of which Russia is a key member. This shift symbolizes a realignment from Western influence to more diverse, global partnerships. Now, let's turn our gaze to China. Their engagement with Africa has been transformative. It's not just about economic investments, it's about building a shared future. The Belt and Road Initiative, a colossal project stretching from the West African coast to the Red Sea, stands as a testament to China's commitment to African development. Both Russia and China's involvement in Africa is a contrast to the Western model. Where the West often imposes its will through financial and military might, these Eastern powers offer a partnership that resonates with the aspirations of African nations. This evolving dynamic is not just about politics. It's about respecting the cultural, societal, and political uniqueness of African nations. As African countries voice their right to choose their allies and chart their own paths, Russia and China stand alongside them, offering a hand of friendship and cooperation. Understanding this historical context is crucial to grasp the current geopolitical shifts. This rich history between Africa, Russia, and China sets the stage for the future, a future where alliances are diversified and partnerships are founded on mutual respect and shared goals. To fully appreciate the current geopolitical landscape in Africa, one must delve into the past. The historical ties between Africa, Russia, and China are deep, complex, and transformative, marked by pivotal moments and sustained cooperation. Rewinding to the mid-20th century, Russia's influence in Africa became prominent during the Cold War era. Their support for liberation movements and newly independent African states was a defining characteristic of their foreign policy. Not just political rhetoric, but substantial support in the form of military training, weapons, and educational programs marked this era. Turning to China, their engagement with Africa started in the 1950s, initially driven by ideological solidarity. This evolved into pragmatic economic cooperation. One landmark event was the construction of the Tanzania-Zambia Railway in the 1970s, a project that symbolized China's commitment to African development and infrastructure. The depth of these relationships is underscored by figures and facts. From the 2000s onward, China's trade with Africa soared, reaching $200 billion in recent years. Meanwhile, Russia's export of arms to Africa accounted for 30% of the total arms import by African nations, solidifying its role as a key defense partner. These historical ties between Africa, Russia, and China are not mere footnotes in history. They are chapters that have shaped the continent's trajectory. As Africa navigates its path in the 21st century, the legacy of these relationships influences its choices and alliances. This rich history sets the stage for today's geopolitical shifts, signaling a future of diversified alliances and new partnerships. As we look to the horizon, the echoes of the past shape the melodies of Africa's future. A future where the continent's voice is louder, its choices broader, and its partnerships more varied. In our concluding thoughts, let's reflect on the words of Douglas MacGregor and the essence of Africa's narrative. This is a time like no other, a time when the Black continent is breaking the chains with its inner strength, rising from the shadows of external influence to the dawn of self-determination. Africa, a tapestry of diverse cultures and rich histories, is now pivoting towards a future of its own making. Every step taken by African nations today is a stride towards autonomy, a move away from a past dictated by others to a future shaped by their own will. It's a journey of reclamation, of culture, identity, and sovereignty. As partnerships evolve, they do so on terms set by Africa for Africa. The narrative we've witnessed is profound. It's a story of empowerment and resilience, where the continent's voice isn't just heard, it resonates. Here, at this pivotal moment, Africa isn't just standing, it's soaring, ready to shape its destiny and embrace a future marked by shared goals and mutual respect. Thank you for joining us on this
Okay. So you have seen it again. So another evidence of where Africa stands, the importance of Africa in history and currently, the importance of Africans. But Europe and America will never state the importance of Africans. Again, like I said previously, in order to take advantage of people or someone of something of value that they have, you have to bully them. You have to make them to feel that what they have is of nothing. Let them feel worthless. And that's how Europe and America have worked tirelessly to make African to feel in that manner. But guess what is happening? We are winning. And it may seem that we are not, because they are not going to give up so easily. But they themselves, they know they are losing. The clock have taken and is not in their favor. Watch this.
Across Europe right now. In countries across the continent, farmers have been taking to the streets in protest against their respective governments, saying that their policies are destroying their livelihoods. In France, not only have tractors blocked multiple vital roads leading to cities like Paris, but have also dumped dirt, stones, rubble, and even hay bales on key motorways. They also set fire to foreign produce and poured out all of the wine that was imported. They tore up parking lots in the south using their tractors. They sprayed an estimated 17,000 liters of sewage on government buildings. buildings and even tried to shoot it in their windows. And then to counteract that, they planned probably one of the most peaceful protests the world has ever seen by filling the center of Draguignan with sheep. They even lined up hundreds of tractors on Le Touquet Beach, which is where the French president Macron has a holiday home. In Germany, thousands took to the streets to protest the phasing out of tax breaks on agricultural diesel, which they say would lead them to bankruptcy. Italy joined the protest with signs that read, "No farmers, no food, no future." This is what it looked like in Belgium yesterday, with tractors as far as the eye can see blocking important motorways as they protest a variety of issues, from low pay to climate regulations. In Romania, Poland, and Hungary, farmers protested against the EU's policies to allow cheap Ukrainian imports to flood the market, which they say has left them unable to sell their crops. Farmers in Scotland said enough is enough and took to the streets with the phrase, "Our land, our livelihood, our future." None of us survive without farmers, and that's why the world needs to know what is happening.
All right, that is today's presentation, as you can see. So first of all, let me just elaborate on that a little bit, right? The reason why those farmers are protesting, it goes down to this. Yes, we know there is war in Ukraine. But the reality here is, right, where the resources are coming from, Africa is not coming. Look at France. And look at what's happening. I hate to say it, but for clarity, we will say it. For educational purpose, we will say it. Look at the Francophone nation in Africa. Look at what they are doing. Okay? They are all distancing themselves from Africa. So the $500 billion that was taken by France every year in taxes from those Africa, how they call it, Francophone nation. France is no longer receiving it. Imagine $500 billion every year that was coming from those African nations going to France just in tax, not even in resources, just taxes. $500 billion every year. France is not receiving it again. You think life gonna be easy in France? No. Now, for example, the uranium in Niger that France was taking, okay, and each pound France was selling it 200 pounds. And meanwhile, when France sold it 200 pounds, and then France gave 11 cents. 11 cents. Out of 200 pounds, France gave 11 cents to Niger. And now Niger said, no, we claiming our uranium. Burkina Faso said, no, we claiming our uranium, we claiming our resources. Can you imagine? France is no longer receiving it. So things are becoming harder. So money that was given to the farmer by the French government, they are not getting it. And those money was coming from Africa. Okay? By the exploitation of Africa, farmers in France were getting money to make their farm. And they are no longer getting it. Now things are becoming hard. The government cannot give it to them. Macron can't give it to them. Now you see them protesting. Right? Things are becoming tough and tougher. The nation in Africa that was exploiting Africa, like Great Britain, that was those nations are standing up. And they are saying no. So things are becoming tough. You heard from a retired military officer. You heard from him. And African nations now, most African nations are actually distancing themselves from the World Bank. You heard from a retired army. These are Americans saying it. Do not take money from the World Bank. The World Bank is dangerous. So you see, Africans, some little are distancing themselves from the World Bank, from the IMF. No, we are not taking money from the World Bank. We are not taking money from the IMF. We will use our resources. The only thing we can do is take foreign corporation from in our country, take them out, and we can own our own resources. We can sell it, and then we can have our own currency. That's what's going on. Henceforth, life becomes tough. So you see the entire Europe. You saw the short video. Look at the entire Europe. Look at the entire Europe. Demonstration, frustration, right? They are not getting it. The resources is not going. It's stuck. It's not going. Supply is not going. So everyone depends on Africa. So everything that they had exploited for Africa, right? They can have it. But from this point, 2024 going on, they can't survive. They will not survive. Even the US cannot survive. Their economy, these are people saying it, right? We're just trying to educate our people to make it better for them to bring this evidence. So, folks, let us put our differences aside. And when I say let us, I'm talking about Africans. I'm talking about Black people. I'm not talking about non-Black. Because we always see it. The Middle East, they are uniting. They are doing their thing. The European, the Westerner, they are uniting. They are doing everything possible in what they can do to survive. How can they sit down and say we need to create a program to kill millions of Africans? They are not saying we need to create a program to kill millions of Iraqi or to kill millions of Middle Eastern or to kill millions of people from Dubai. Only Africans. They are our enemies. Why would they even do that? Why would they even set out to plan that? Why can't they say we need to create a program to kill millions of Chinese? Why can't they say we need to create a program to kill millions of Asians? Because the Chinese are the one competing with them in Africa, right? Why can't they say we need to create a program to kill Chinese so that they can start competing with us in Africa? Why can't they say we need to create a program to kill Russians? Because you know what? They will never say that. They know the Chinese will come after them. They know the Russian will come. They know the socialist government will come after them. Or the communist government will come after them. They know Putin will come after them. But they know Africa, we are mumu, we are puppets. We will not ask them. That's today's story. I will see you guys Sunday. Or this Saturday, we're going to be on. Nkrumah going to be on. This Saturday, Natasha, I believe she's going to be on. So we're going to be on this Saturday, and then you'll see me Sunday. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging in. We started at 1 o'clock. It's already 4:20, going to 5. Share, like, subscribe, let it go. And, you know, there's no other way you can go and get a better news, better information. You know, only on Black media, only on Black channel, and not even all Black, because some of these Black channels, some of these Black media, they are colonial, how they call it, they are colonialist, and they are being paid by those people. So not everyone, just because it's Black doesn't mean it's good for you, all right? But you have to understand what it stands for. You have to understand their messages, all right? So share, like, subscribe. I will see you all. Peace.